Chapter 1138. The hundreds of celestial spider sect disciples were also dejected. The power that the Purple Elephant Emperor had just displayed was still fresh in their minds. That terrifying purple fire could quickly burn them to ashes. Among the hundreds of people, there were no true experts who could match up to him. Once he attacked, the hundreds of people from the celestial spider sect would not be able to escape. They could only wait to be burned to ashes. "Don't be so murderous." Sui stared at the Purple Elephant Emperor and said indifferently, "Capture all of these people, seal their cultivation, and then bring them all away." As Sui spoke, he turned and left, preparing to continue helping his elder brother, Merciless West, set up the illusory spirit world. "Master, why keep them alive?" The Purple Elephant Emperor looked at Sui's back and asked curiously. They were all from the Celestial Spider sect, and they even knew about the mine. Keeping them alive did not seem like a good thing. However, after hearing Sui's words, everyone from the Celestial Spider sect was overjoyed. The Bawang sect leader had spoken, which meant that their lives were saved. Sui had already flown far away, and he did not even turn back. However, after hearing his reply, the Purple Elephant Emperor's eyes suddenly lit up, and the hearts of the Celestial Spider sect members sank again. The young man's reply was very simple. There were only 3 words: "Become a miner." Good idea, as expected of Master. The Purple Elephant Emperor's mouth was wide open, and he was beaming with joy. He felt that Sui's idea was extremely good. Weren't they currently worried about the lack of manpower? Now that they had captured these hundreds of people, they could also solve some of their urgent needs. The Celestial Spider sect is really a good person, giving us hundreds of miners in one go, and there are even Origin Emperors among them. Not bad, not bad. As the Purple Elephant Emperor spoke, he landed directly on the ground. He struck out a series of restrictions that landed on Elder Sun and some of the Origin Void Realm cultivators. However, none of them dared to resist at all. As for the majority of the other disciples, the Purple Elephant Emperor completely ignored them. "Take them away." With a shout, 6 Bawang sect disciples began to drive the hundreds of people into the mine. The Purple Elephant Emperor was also hovering in mid-air, following closely behind. Several hundred Celestial Spider sect disciples were brought to the previous mine and handed over to Nangong Ningyue to manage. Everyone was asked to hand over their interspatial bags. They then took out their weapons and began to dig. It was under such circumstances that the Bawang sect's primordial stone mine in the Fengling mountain range finally began its real mining. Haha, sect leader is indeed wise to have thought of such a method. The Bawang sect members were overjoyed when they saw the Heavenly Spider sect members bustling about. The Celestial Spider sect's several hundred people were suddenly captured by us. Their sect will definitely find out soon. It's best that we make preparations early. Shi Wuqing had also learned of this matter, and reminded Sui while they were in the Phantom Spirit world. "It's fine. It's just the Heavenly Spider sect. I was worried that they wouldn't come," Sui said with a smile. Merciless West looked at him and couldn't help but shrug. He felt sorry for the Heavenly Spider sect in his heart. With Sui's personality, he probably couldn't wait for everyone in the Heavenly Spider sect to come and mine the Heavenly Spider mine for the Bawang sect. Merciless West didn't say anything else and continued to set up the Phantom world. This time, he still used the Li Fire Mystic Sun realm. With the previous experience, he operated it much faster, but it was still an extremely exhausting thing. In addition, the scale of the arrangement this time was much larger than the previous one. In the Fengling Mountain, everyone was busy with their own duties. The Purple Elephant Emperor, the Dragon Rhinoceros Emperor, and the others led dozens of Bawang sect disciples to patrol the periphery to prevent anyone from intruding. Sui and Merciless West were busy setting up the Phantom world. Nangong Ningyue led several Bawang sect disciples to guard hundreds of people from the Heavenly Spider sect and supervise them as they excavated the heavenly spider sect. With most of these people's cultivations sealed, there was no need to worry about any trouble. In addition, handsome Sue was nowhere to be seen. She had no idea where he had gone. Sue was a little puzzled. Although little handsome Sue was still young and didn't know much, he should be able to distinguish his priorities. He shouldn't have run out to play when he needed help. He wasn't worried about little handsome Sue's safety. After all, that guy had broken through to the Demon Emperor realm. If he really encountered any trouble, the unlucky ones would be others. As Sue was busy assisting his elder brother, Merciless West, he didn't look for little handsome Sue. What surprised him was that on this night, soft shouts could be heard from afar. Soon, Sue and the others were all surprised to see a small bird flapping its wings and flying in the air. Below him, there were no less than 20 figures who were being chased by this small bird and quickly moving forward in the forest. Moreover, these 20 figures didn't dare to hesitate at all. It was as if their lives would be in danger if they were a little slower. What is little handsome Sue doing? Sue, Merciless West, Purple Elephant Emperor, Nangong Ningyue, and the others were all surprised and turned their gazes to the small bird. Boss. Little handsome Sue quickly led these 20 people in front of Sue as if he was herding a flock of chickens and ducks. After seeing Sue, little handsome Sue directly landed on his shoulder and said excitedly, "I found another 20 or so miners. Quickly let them mine for essence stones." This, everyone looked at each other and laughed. Sue didn't know what to say. Little handsome Sue, this guy, was learning from him. But Sue felt that this kind of method seemed to be pretty good too. "Since you all came here, then stay behind and help us mine the essence stone mine. I won't treat you all unfairly either. All of you, Essence Soul Realm and above, can get a monthly wage of 1 Essence Stone, Essence Profound Realm 2, Essence Spirit Realm 3. Sue had his hands behind his back and arrived in front of the 20 over people. His gaze swept over. These people were mostly just at Essence Profound Realm. It looked like they were all itinerant cultivators from the Chaos region. Their cultivations weren't strong. To martial artists at this level, 1 Essence Stone was already a decent reward. Back then, Sue was inside the barbaric demon forest. The Black Fiend sect's Essence Stone wages were about the same. Sue didn't intend to use these people as slaves. He had his own principles when doing things. It was better to have an equivalent exchange. Moreover, offering a clear price would make these people more motivated. To the Bawang sect, there wouldn't be any losses. However, it was impossible for Sue to pay those people from the Celestial Spider sect. They were already considered enemies in the unseen world. My lord, is what you said true?" As soon as Sue's words came out, the 20 over itinerant cultivators couldn't believe their ears. They suspected that they had heard wrongly. Not only these people, but even the disciples of the Bawang sect didn't understand Sue's thoughts. In the Chaos region, it was common for people to eat each other. As itinerant cultivators who weren't strong enough, how many people would care about their lives? In this place, strength was everything. The strong were the chopping block, and the weak were the meat on the chopping block. This was a truth that everyone could accept. Therefore, when Sue proposed to give these itinerant cultivators wages, everyone didn't understand. "I am the sect master of the Bawang sect. I will keep my word. Of course, if you dare to play any tricks in the process of mining essence stones, then don't blame me for being impolite." Sue nodded and said affirmatively. Bawang sect. As soon as they heard these 3 words, the 20 itinerant cultivators were stunned. This sect was now famous. Who in the Chaos region hadn't heard of it? They were all surprised. It turned out that they were brought to the Bawang sect's territory. This was too much of a coincidence. "My lord, I want to join the Bawang sect. Please take me in." Suddenly, a young man in his 20s bowed to Sue and said aloud, Sue was stunned. Su Xiaoshui, Nangong Ningyue, and the others were also surprised. They didn't expect this to happen. Why do you want to join the Bawang sect? Sui raised his eyebrows and asked. He immediately saw that this man's cultivation had reached the origin spirit realm. His talent was not bad, but it definitely couldn't be called outstanding. My lord, I've heard a lot about you and the Bawang sect's deeds recently. Each and every one of them makes one's blood boil. I yearn to join such a sect. Coincidentally, I heard that the Bawang sect is recruiting people. I heard about it and was about to rush over. It's just that. The young man bowed slightly. As he spoke, he paused and glanced at Su Xiaoshui. Then, he continued to speak respectfully. In addition, I know that the Bawang sect doesn't have many people at the moment, so I want to join and become a member. With my talent and cultivation, if I were to be placed in other established forces, they would look down on me. However, the Bawang sect is different. I feel that I have a chance to become stronger here. The young man spoke very sincerely. Many people unconsciously nodded when they heard his word. They could also understand that it was very difficult for a loose cultivator to truly rise without a backer. Just as the young man said, with his cultivation, ordinary established forces would look down on someone like him. He was considered a dispensable character in the sect. However, the Bawang sect was currently recruiting people and didn't put forth too many requirements. He was originally active in the nearby area and had heard about it. He was about to rush over to sign up, but who would have thought that he would be kidnapped and brought here by a valiant little bird? This time, he had hit the jackpot by a stroke of luck. You can join the Bawang sect, but you must obey orders. In addition, the benefits you receive will be measured according to your contributions to the sect. If you don't do enough, you'll even get less than what you get as a minor. Think about this carefully first, Sui said. Really? Chapter 1139. Looking at the young man's appearance, the remaining rogue cultivators were silent. They naturally understood what this young man was thinking. As a disciple of a sect, he must make contributions to the sect in exchange for benefit. No force would raise idle people. Therefore, the problem that Sui mentioned was not a problem for them at all. In the eyes of a group of rogue cultivators, this Shu Qingfu was really clever. He immediately hugged the thigh of the Bawang sect. With these 3 words alone, not many people in the Chaos realm would dare to provoke him in the future. The Bawang sect was equivalent to a protective talisman. It's good that you've thought it through. Get up. Sui nodded and handed the young man to Nangong Ningyue, letting her arrange Shu Qingfu's work. Sir, I also want to join the Bawang sect. I also want to join the Bawang sect. Sir, please take me in. Soon, among the remaining 20 or so rogue cultivators, less than half of them spoke to Sui. Sect Master, leave this matter to me. Nangong Ningyue walked in front of Sui and said aloud. Okay. Sui didn't say anything and walked away, continuing to busy himself with Merciless West. It was impossible for him to recruit people by himself. Moreover, Sui felt that he might not be as good as Nangong Ningyue. Those who want to join the Bawang sect, stand up. The others go and arrange for the mining of origin stones. Nangong Ningyue immediately began to arrange matters. Although these people were not many, they could still play a big role. Of the 20 or so rogue cultivators, about 13 or 14 chose to mine the ore. The remaining 7 or 8 people all wanted to join the Bawang sect. In fact, for many rogue cultivators, if they had enough strength and didn't choose to join a force, it was because they didn't want to be bound and wanted freedom. As for those rogue cultivators who were not strong, most forces looked down on them and were forced to choose to be alone. In a situation where one's strength was insufficient, who wouldn't want to have a powerful force behind them? Of course, this was not absolute. Just like the 13 or 14 individual cultivators who chose to become miners, they were probably thinking more about whether the Bawang sect was reliable. However, judging from the current situation, at least Su Yi and the others hadn't cheated them yet. While Mount Fongling was busy, less than 100 miles away, several people were sitting in the main hall of the third-rate celestial spider sect. Elder Sun and the others have already gone to the mine for a few days. Why haven't they sent any news back? At the head of the hall, a man in his 50s frowned and spoke in a deep voice. This person was the sect master of the Heavenly Spider sect, Luo Jing. Could there have been an accident? We can't afford to lose this mine. If others find out, we'll be in trouble. Another old man spoke. His tone was solemn. That shouldn't be the case, right? This information has been tightly sealed, and only a few of us know about it. There shouldn't be any accidents. A middle-aged man frowned and asked in bewilderment. We'd better be careful. If other third-rate forces find out about it, it'll be quite troublesome. At the head of the hall, Celestial Spider Sect Master Luo Jing spoke again in a deep voice. In addition, once the news of this mine reaches the ears of second-rate forces, the result will be even worse, so we must be careful. Everyone in the hall nodded silently when they heard this, expressing their agreement. The mine had an extremely rich reserve of source stones. Coupled with the results of the exploration, there were a large number of 2-star source stones and many 3-star source stones. If news of this were to spread, even second-rate forces would be envious and would come to snatch it. Elder Yuan, how are our preparations going? At the head of the hall, Luo Jing suddenly looked at an old man and asked. Reporting to Sect Master, everything has been prepared. We can set out to the mine in a few days to harvest source stones. The old man called Elder Yuan bowed slightly and then continued, the only problem is the manpower for mining. When the time comes, we'll make other plans. Luo Jing nodded when he heard this and said, we'll talk about the miners later. When the time comes, we'll send disciples to capture rogue cultivator slaves, and everything will be settled. He paused for a moment and then said, since everything is ready, let's set out as soon as possible. There's no time to lose. This time, I'll leave it to Elder Yuan and Elder Sun to worry about. Yes, Sect Master. Elder Yuan cupped his hands and said seriously. Elder Sun had already gone to the mine, so the two of them would take charge of the overall situation when the time came. In addition, in order to avoid any accidents, I'll go and investigate first to make sure that Elder Sun and the others are fine. Luo Jing thought for a moment and said. Everyone in the hall agreed, but they also felt that they might be overthinking this matter. Firstly, the Celestial Spider Sect's information was tightly guarded and it was almost impossible for it to be leaked. Secondly, even if someone found something wrong with Elder Sun's cultivation and hundreds of disciples, it shouldn't be difficult to deal with it. Moreover, even if they encountered a terrifying expert, they should be able to send a message back. In fact, what these people from the Celestial Spider Sect didn't know was that Elder Sun and the hundreds of disciples had encountered many experts from the Bawang sect and were directly wiped out. They were fine, but all of them had now become miners and were doing voluntary labor for the Bawang sect. Everyone in the hall of the Celestial Spider Sect dispersed, and just 4 hours later, another group of no less than 800 people gathered. Several people were in a group, and all of them were riding huge spiders. Under the lead of Elder Yuan, they began to set off for Mount Fongling. Elder Mu and I will go first. If there's nothing else, we'll return immediately. Luo Jing, the sect master of the Celestial Spider Sect, stood in the air. Beside him stood a white-haired old man who was also floating in the void, faintly emitting a powerful Origin Emperor aura. On the other side of Luo Jing, there was a middle-aged man in his 40s who wore a golden robe. However, his face was gloomy and there was a black aura around him, making him look terrifying for no reason. What was even more terrifying was that there were 8 slender arms growing out of his ribs. The aura of this middle-aged man was not much different from Luo Jing's. It was very terrifying. The 3 of them took the lead, and their figures were as fast as lightning as they flew towards the mine. Luo Jing had a feeling that things might not be so simple. To be safe, he had to personally take a look at the mine's situation. The speed of an Emperor Realm cultivator was extremely fast, and a distance of less than 100 miles was nothing to them. "There's someone in the mine." When they approached the mine, they sensed that there were people moving around on it. "It's an outsider, not a member of the Celestial Spider sect." Luo Jing slowly frowned. As far as his eyes could see, those people's attire was not the style of the Celestial Spider sect at all. Obviously, there really was a variable here. Who dares to ruin the Celestial Spider sect's important matter? Elder Mu's expression was extremely ugly as he said in a cold voice. This mine was too important to the Celestial Spider sect. They had been very careful, but they didn't expect that there would still be a problem. At the thought of this, all three of them burst out with a terrifying aura, and their speed couldn't help but increase a little as they wanted to find out what was going on. "Let's be careful." After a moment, Luo Jing said with a serious face. He realized that the situation was unusual. The other party must be very strong, otherwise it would be impossible for Elder Sun to not be able to send a message back. With this thought in mind, the three Emperor Realm experts suppressed the terrifying aura on their bodies and landed in the mine's vicinity. "Who's there?" The three of them were very cautious, but unexpectedly, in the blink of an eye, a cold shout was heard. Immediately, they saw a purple-clothed middle-aged man and a golden-clothed burly man quickly coming over and landing in front of them. Two beast emperors. As soon as he saw the two of them, Luo Jing instantly recognized their identities. What powerful beast emperors! Elder Mu's face was already a little pale. The purple-clothed middle-aged man and the golden-clothed burly man's aura were too strong. With his cultivation of the third level of the Origin Emperor realm, he couldn't resist at all. Even breathing was difficult for him. The aura of the Heaven Fiend Poison Spider. "Looks like you're from the Sky Spider sect." The purple-clothed middle-aged man and the golden-clothed burly man were the Purple Elephant Emperor and the Dragon Rhinoceros Emperor respectively. They stared at the three people in front of them and sensed a familiar aura from the golden-clothed middle-aged man. It was similar to the Heaven Fiend Poison Spiders of the Sky Spider sect. Needless to say, these three people were naturally from the Sky Spider sect. "Who are you? Where is Elder Sun and the rest?" Luo Jing took a step forward and looked at the Purple Elephant Emperor and the Dragon Rhinoceros Emperor as he asked in a deep voice. "Ha ha!" The Purple Elephant Emperor chuckled and said indifferently, "Are you talking about that old man with the white beard? He's helping us open the mine. And all the disciples of your Sky Spider sect are also here. Not a single one is missing." The Purple Elephant Emperor knew that with the strength of the Sky Spider sect, they probably only had 5 or 6 Emperor-level cultivators. Therefore, the three people who came, together with Elder Sun who was captured by them, were already more than half of the Sky Spider sect's peak combat strength. Therefore, he did not feel the slightest bit of fear. To the Overlord sect, all the third-rate forces were nothing. Destroying them would be child's play. What? The Purple Elephant Emperor's words made Luo Jing furious. He understood that Elder Sun and the hundreds of Sky Spider sect disciples were captured by these people as slaves. "Who are you? How dare you attack the people of my Sky Spider sect?" Luo Jing's face was so gloomy that it was about to drip water. Their mine was now occupied and their sect disciples were being controlled. This made him furious. "The Sky Spider sect is nothing." The Dragon Rhinoceros Emperor spat and said, "Since the three of you are here, then stay here too. It just so happens that we don't have enough people to mine the Vitality Stones. We'll use you guys to make up the numbers." Before he finished speaking, the Dragon Rhinoceros Emperor stomped his foot in the void. It was like a mountain crashing down, causing a violent tremor. Chapter 1140. Amidst the disagreement, the dragon rhinoceros emperor directly attacked. Accompanied by a dark golden light, its burly and robust body charged out like a mountain. It was as if it was going to smash through space. Its momentum was terrifying. When the three from the celestial spider sect saw this, their expressions immediately became serious. It was not difficult for them to sense that the golden-robed man opposite them had reached the 5th-level demon emperor realm. He was indeed powerful. "I'll deal with him." Among the three people from the sky spider sect, the middle-aged man who was also wearing a golden robe rushed forward. He waved his 8 arms on both sides of his ribs and faced the dragon rhinoceros emperor. "Golden spider, be careful," Luo Jing reminded in a low voice. "A demon emperor realm heaven fiend poisonous spider?" Seeing the dragon rhinoceros emperor and the middle-aged man called golden spider collide, the purple elephant emperor could not help but raise his eyebrows and say, "This demon emperor realm heaven fiend poisonous spider was not easy to deal with." Moreover, the other party was also at the 5th-level demon emperor realm, which was about the same level as the dragon rhinoceros emperor. "Then let me take the two of you down," the purple elephant emperor bellowed, and took a heavy step forward. Terrifying purple flames spread out as he charged towards Luo Jing and Elder Mu. He threw out a punch that was so powerful that it could shake the world. In an instant it smashed into Luo Jing's chest. This punch contained an aura that could destroy everything, causing the air to explode. "I don't care who you are. You must pay the price today," Luo Jing shouted coldly. The vitality in his body surged wildly as he also threw out a punch. Boom! The two collided in an instant. As their fists collided, an earth-shattering sound was heard. The vast sound waves swept out like a tsunami. The surrounding trees were snapped and fell to the ground. So powerful! Luo Jing's figure was directly blasted backward. He flew 1,000 feet away like a meteor before he managed to stabilize himself. The vitality in his body was turbulent as he suffered a huge shock. On the other hand, the purple elephant emperor only retreated 70 feet before stabilizing his body. In terms of strength, the difference between the two was obvious. The 7th-level origin emperor realm is only SOSO. The purple elephant emperor chuckled and rushed out again. Every step he took in the void was like a small mountain crashing down, making loud noises. Soon, he was in front of Luo Jing again. The purple flames on his body danced wildly and turned into a wild elephant. It let out a long cry towards the sky and swept its trunk fiercely towards Luo Jing. "Elder Mu, let's join forces and suppress this demon emperor," Luo Jing roared when he saw the purple elephant emperor charging towards him. Then, he clashed with the purple elephant emperor once again. A terrifying attack erupted between the two of them. A 7th-level origin emperor against a 5th-level demon emperor. The terrifying power shook the void like a tsunami. The ferocious energy storm swept across the area, destroying the rocks and trees below and turning them into dust and smoke. Sect Master, the white-haired old man who came with Luo Jing, felt his scalp go numb. He was extremely nervous. Luo Jing wanted him to work together to deal with this beast emperor, which made the old man feel extremely dangerous. He was at the 3rd-level origin emperor realm. If he was not careful, he would end up in a miserable state. He didn't dare to get any closer to the terrifying purple flames that were burning. However, Elder Mu still braced himself and flew over. He floated around the periphery and attacked the purple elephant emperor continuously. On the other side, the battle between the dragon rhino emperor and the golden spider emperor was also very intense. Mu, the draconic rhinoceros emperor, let out a moo as the horns on his head shone with a brilliant dark gold light. A huge dark gold draconic rhinoceros phantom took shape behind him. It was like a huge mountain as it soared through the sky. Tsk tisk. The golden spider emperor's movements were not slow either. He waved his 8 arms and opened his mouth. A golden silk thread shot out and wrapped around the dragon rhino emperor. This was the skyfiend poison spider's silk. It was extremely tough and could entangle countless powerful creatures. However, he was facing the dragon rhino emperor today, a beast emperor known for his strength. The sky was filled with spider webs, intertwining with each other to form a huge net that came crashing down from the sky. However, after the dragon rhino emperor charged past, the spider's silk on the huge net broke apart one by one. It was not an effective hindrance to him at all. The sturdy dark gold dragon rhino rampaged in all directions in an absolutely tyrannical manner. It cleared all obstacles and then slammed into the golden spider emperor's body. Bang! The golden spider emperor's figure was sent flying in a straight line. He flew for several miles and crashed into a small mountain. Rocks flew everywhere and dust covered the sky. The golden spider emperor's entire body was buried by the rocks. After a while, he broke free and flew into the air again. What powerful strength! The golden spider emperor looked solemn as he stared at the dragon rhino emperor opposite him. After being hit by the dragon rhino emperor, his chi and blood were in turmoil. His body felt like it was about to explode. I advise you to surrender," the dragon rhino emperor snorted. However, in the next moment, a black light flashed across his face, and his expression changed. Seeing this, the golden spider opposite him sneered and said, "Do you really think that you can do whatever you want just because you can suppress me in terms of strength? Since you're so arrogant, then enjoy the taste of my innate fiend poison." The dragon rhino emperor's expression was uncertain. He had just fought with the golden spider and used his absolute strength to crush the spider's silk. However, his body was also contaminated with the innate fiend poison at the same time. This poison was unique to the innate fiend poison spider and was extremely powerful. If an ordinary cultivator came into contact with just a little bit of it, countless spiders' silk would quickly grow in their body from the inside out. It would then wrap their entire body and turn them into a large cocoon-like object until all their vitality was exhausted. The most terrifying thing was that this poison was very difficult to get rid of. Once touched, it would take root in the body. It was like a wild grass that would grow again after being burned by a fierce fire. I was careless. The dragon rhino emperor's expression changed. Wisps of black gas circulated around his body, and he could feel some abnormal movements in his body. Relying on his tyrannical cultivation, he forcibly suppressed the poison. Then, he glared at the golden spider and said, "You want to take my life with this poison? You're too naive. Even if the poison really takes effect, I'll take your life right here and now." As he spoke, the dragon rhino emperor charged toward the golden spider again. Unparalleled power burst forth. The void trembled, the earth shook, and the mountains trembled. A powerful aura filled the air, and invisible ripples spread out. Just this aura alone caused the golden spider's body to sway uncontrollably. As a beast emperor, strength was indeed not his forte. If he fought the dragon rhino emperor head-on, the golden spider would definitely be at a disadvantage. "We'll see if you can kill me." The golden spider's expression was serious. He no longer dared to face the dragon rhino emperor head-on and began to retreat. The dragon rhino emperor did not speak. Just as he was about to transform into the black rhino emperor and crush the golden spider again, a purple figure on the other side was also pushed back. This purple figure was the purple elephant emperor. He did not gain any advantage under the joint attack of Luo Jing and Elder Mu, but he did not lose either. "Dragon Rhino Emperor, are you all right?" The purple elephant emperor landed beside the dragon rhino emperor and turned to ask him. "I'm not dead yet," the dragon rhino emperor said. You two beast emperors are indeed strong, but you'll die if you act so presumptuously in the territory of the heavenly spider sect." Luo Jing snorted when he realized that the dragon rhino emperor was poisoned by the golden spider's poison. However, His words attracted the Purple Elephant Emperor's disdain. The puny heavenly spider sect is nothing. Just wait to be uprooted by the Bawang sect, the Purple Elephant Emperor said coldly. The Bawang sect. Luo Jing's expression froze, and he was stunned for a moment. The Bawang sect's name was like the sun in the sky. Of course, he had heard of it. Such a powerful existence was not something that the Golden Spider sect could compare to. However, Luo Jing was not stupid. He would not provoke such a powerful enemy like the Seven-Star Sword School and the Gimdeo sect. That would be unwise. However, who would have thought that the person who occupied the mine today was from the Bawang sect? This was too much of a coincidence. Cut the crap and fight. I'd like to see how you'll die in the end. The Dragon Rhino Emperor did not want to waste any more time. His aura surged, and the horns on his head shone brightly, releasing a metallic luster. Wait! Luo Jing was startled for a moment and immediately shouted. Why? Are you afraid? The Purple Elephant Emperor sneered and asked Luo Jing. The three from the Heavenly Spider sect fell silent. None of them spoke, and their hearts beat rapidly. There was an indescribable fear in their hearts. Only now did they know that these two beast emperors were from the Bawang sect. If they had known this earlier, they wouldn't have fought directly. Not to mention the fate of the Seven-Star Sword School and the Gimdeo sect, even the Big Dipper sect had suffered a great loss at their hands. This news had spread far and wide. Moreover, Luo Jing, who led the Heavenly Spider sect disciples to the Alliance Conference's preliminaries, had personally witnessed the strength of the young Sui. The other party's decisive killing methods were still fresh in his memory. Just thinking about it made his scalp tingle. Since you're from the Bawang sect, I'm afraid there's been some misunderstanding. Luo Jing's mind raced. He thought of many things in an instant and thought of many countermeasures. However, in the end, he could only say this. The moment he said this, it was already tantamount to admitting defeat. Misunderstanding? The Purple Elephant Emperor raised his eyebrows but did not say anything. He wanted to hear what Luo Jing had to say next. I'm sure everyone knows that there's a primordial stone mine here. To be honest, the Heavenly Spider sect discovered it a long time ago and began to send people here to mine. I didn't expect the Bawang sect to beat us to it. Chapter 1141. The Purple Elephant Emperor and the Dragon Rhinoceros Emperor sneered. How could their master be met so easily? However, just as they were about to refuse, they suddenly saw a figure flying over from not far away and landing in front of them. It was none other than Sui. I'm here. What do you want to talk about? After Sui landed, he glanced at the situation of these people, then stared at Luo Jing and asked directly. On his shoulder, Su Xiaoshui stood quietly and looked around. Luo Jing's body tensed up under such a gaze. He remembered very clearly that during the Alliance Conference's preliminaries, it was this young man who killed 20 people from the Gimdeo sect and the Seven-Star Sword School consecutively. His methods were shocking. Furthermore, there were even more legends that added even more ferocity to this young man's appearance. Sect leader Su. After a while, Luo Jing calmed himself down. He cupped his hands and said, I want to talk to you about the primordial stone mine. Cold sweat seeped from Luo Jing's forehead. He felt a lot of pressure as he spoke. This was very strange. In front of a young man in the Origin Void Realm, he should not be acting like this. Let's put the primordial stone mine aside. You hurt my people. Let's talk about this first. Sui said in a low voice without moving his gaze. The Purple Elephant Emperor had already told him about the Dragon Rhinoceros Emperor's poisoning through telepathy. This made Su Yi's heart sink. In fact, he had long discovered that there were cultivators here, but he didn't expect that even the Purple Elephant Emperor and the Dragon Rhinoceros Emperor couldn't suppress them immediately. That was why he came out now and even brought young Marshal Su along. This, Luo Jing was stunned at first, then turned his head and signaled to Golden Spider. Immediately, Golden Spider flipped his wrist and took out a small porcelain bottle from his space bag. He handed it to Luo Jing with a sullen face. Sect Leader Su, this is the antidote for the innate demon poison. The poison in his body is naturally not a problem, Luo Jing said, but he did not throw the porcelain bottle to Su Yi or the dragon rhinoceros emperor. He only said indifferently, I would like to sincerely discuss something with Sect Master Su. I hope you will consider it. Sui looked at his actions and did not reply. However, his eyes were filled with boundless coldness. Luo Jing once again paused for a moment. When he saw that Sui had kept his mouth shut, he continued, We have discovered this mine a long time ago. I believe that Sect Leader Su is also aware that there are large amounts of yuan stones here. Furthermore, they are of very high quality. Once they were all extracted, it would be an unimaginable harvest. These origin stones are very important to my Heavenly Spider sect, and I don't want to lose them. However, since the Bawang sect has also discovered the mineral deposits here, my Heavenly Spider sect naturally has no reason to chase you away. How about this? Let's mine together, work together, and split the primeval stones equally. What does Sect Master Su think? When he said this, Luo Jing's heart was pained. Such an important mine originally belonged to his Heavenly Spider sect, but now he had to split it equally with the Bawang sect. How could he not feel heartache? However, there was no other way. The Heavenly Spider sect was declining and would not be a match for the Bawang sect. If he did not back down and insisted on challenging them, it was very likely that he would end up like the Gimdeo sect and the Seven-Star Sword School. Therefore, even if he lost half of his origin stones, he could only endure it. He could even say that the Bawang sect wanted to use their power to oppress him. He had to agree even if he had to give up a few more portions. What did you say? Mine together? Split it equally between our two sects? Su Yi suddenly laughed. He looked at Luo Jing playfully and said coldly, Are you trying to use the antidote in your hand to threaten me and negotiate with me like this? Don't you think this is a little whimsical? Su Yi was really laughing because he felt that Luo Jing was playing a huge joke on him. Asking the Bawang sect to give up half of a origin stone mine was more serious than cutting Su Yi's flesh with a knife. How could he agree? Su Yi was still planning to use the origin stones in this mine to pay off the debt of the Spirit Treasures Pavilion and allow the Bawang sect to quickly expand. Split the origin stones equally with the Heavenly Spider sect? That was something that he absolutely could not agree to. He would never agree to it even if he put a knife to Su Yi's neck. Besides, why should he? Sect Master Su, you've misunderstood. Luo Jing saw that the situation was not right and immediately said, I'm sincerely discussing with you. After all, who would want such a origin stone mine? Since my Heavenly Spider sect and the Bawang sect have both discovered this place and sent people over, in order to avoid disputes, we might as well work together to avoid being targeted by other forces. Being targeted by other forces is also my Bawang sect's business. Su Yi glanced at Luo Jing indifferently and said, Stop talking nonsense. I won't give up a single origin stone in the mine to the Heavenly Spider sect. If you feel indignant, then make a move and let your strength speak for itself. As he spoke, Su Yi's origin supreme technique automatically activated. His aura surged and he looked like he was going to make a move if there was a disagreement. Su Yi had this confidence. With the Bawang sect's current strength, they did not need to act according to the Heavenly Spider sect's wishes. Moreover, he did not plan to let Luo Jing and Golden Spider off. If his elder brother, Merciless West, was not busy setting up the illusionary spirit world, Su Yi would not dawdle here for so long. He would definitely take down these three people directly. Sect Master Su, you have to think thrice. Luo Jing suddenly clenched his teeth and hatred surged in his eyes. He said coldly, I know my place. I know that the Heavenly Spider sect is no match for the Bawang sect. However, if the specific information about this mine is leaked out, even the second-rate forces will be alarmed. Sect Master Su, you have to think carefully. When Sui heard this, his eyes immediately narrowed. His entire body's origin chi instantly surged. Vast and majestic origin chi surged, accompanied by a vast pressure that descended in the void. Whoosh! The origin chi surged like a tide. Luo Jing, Golden Spider, and Elder Mu all unconsciously took half a step back under this pressure. They were extremely surprised. How could a young man at the origin void realm have such a terrifying power? Are you threatening me? Su-yi slowly took a step forward in the void and faced Luo Jing directly. The other party's intention was very clear. It was obvious that he wanted to use the information about the mine to threaten Su-yi and force him to agree. I'm not threatening you. It's just that the Heavenly Spider sect has a share in this mine. If I can't get my share, then I'll consider asking someone else to help us ask for it. At this time, they had already shed all pretense of cordiality. Luo Jing also looked coldly at Su-yi and said, the Bawang sect was very strong and had indeed repelled the Heavenly Dipper sect. However, many people knew that the main credit for that battle was the Phantom Spirit World. Moreover, the most powerful expert of the Heavenly Dipper sect did not participate. Otherwise, how could the Bawang sect withstand the full force of a second-rate force? The mine in front of them had the charm to attract a certain second-rate force to fight over it. No matter how strong the Bawang sect was, it was no different from a fool's dream to fight for a mine with a second-rate force. The foundation of those large forces was not something the Bawang sect could compare to. Is that so? Su-yi sneered. He looked at Luo Jing and said coldly, do you think the three of you can still leave this place today? As he spoke, the Purple Elephant Emperor and the Dragon Rhinoceros Emperor once again charged towards Luo Jing and the other two. Su Xiaoshui also flapped his wings and flew up. He stared at Elder Mu and was ready to suppress him. You can't stop us with just the few of you. Luo Jing's face darkened. Things had already developed to this stage, and he had no way out. It was impossible to give up the mine. The temptation was too great. However, it was also difficult to fight the Bawang sect head-on. Therefore, Luo Jing had already planned his escape route from the moment he made up his mind. Take them down. Su-yi did not waste any more time. With a wave of his arm, the Dragon Rhinoceros Emperor and the Purple Elephant Emperor immediately rushed out. They were filled with killing intent and swept towards Golden Spider and Luo Jing respectively. Go! Luo Jing shouted. Without any hesitation, he immediately flew into the distance with Golden Spider and the Purple Elephant Emperor. He had no intention of fighting. PV at the side, Elder Mu was about to follow and quickly leave this place. But suddenly, a blazing flame swept over with a swish. It released an extremely terrifying high temperature, and it instantly blocked his path of retreat. Where can you run to in front of me? Su Xiaoshui flapped his wings lightly and said in a deep voice. Seeing that Elder Mu was about to retaliate, Su Xiaoshui flapped his wings again. A large expanse of raging flames rolled out and enveloped Elder Mu. In front of the current Su Xiaoshui, a martial artist at the third level of the Origin Emperor realm could not even escape. In an instant, Su Xiaoshui cast a series of restrictions on Elder Mu's body, rendering him unable to move. At this moment, Luo Jing and Golden Spider had already rushed far away. They turned back and saw Elder Mu's situation, but they could not turn back to rescue him. This was because the Purple Elephant Emperor and the Dragon Rhinoceros Emperor had already caught up. If they did not leave now, they would be in trouble when the sole controller at the 7th level of the Origin Emperor realm from the Bawang sect arrived. There's no need to chase. Su-yi transmitted his voice to stop the Purple Elephant Emperor and the Dragon Rhinoceros Emperor from continuing their pursuit. Boss, won't it be bad if we let them go? After capturing Elder Mu, Su Xiaoshui landed on Su Yi's shoulder again and asked, "What's there to be afraid of? By the time they find a second-rate force to back them up, Big Brother will have almost finished setting up the Mystic Gate illusory spirit world. We are in urgent need of manpower now. I'm worried that there won't be enough people to come." Sui chuckled softly and said. He was not particularly flustered when he let Luo Jing and the others leave. Originally, the matter of the Origin Stone mine had to be kept a secret. However, Sui had thought it through. Since the Celestial Spider sect already knew about it, it could not be kept a secret forever. Chapter 1142. Dragon Rhinoceros, how's the poison in your body? Can you suppress it for the time being? When the Purple Elephant Emperor and the Dragon Rhinoceros Emperor returned, Su-Yi asked with a frown. "There's no problem for the time being, but you can't use your qi." The Dragon Rhinoceros Emperor replied. The Golden Spider's innate fiend poison was still very powerful. It was only because of his profound cultivation that he could temporarily suppress it with his own strength. However, he couldn't fight anyone now. Before he had a way to expel the poison, if he used his qi, it would accelerate the spread of the poison. Suppress it for the time being. I'll let Big Brother take a look later. Su-Yi nodded. As long as the Dragon Rhinoceros Emperor was fine for the time being, it was fine. His big brother, Merciless West, was an alchemist. He should have a solution. In addition, among the captured Sky Spider sect members, there were hundreds of innate fiend poison spiders. Perhaps he could obtain a way to detoxify the poison from them. If it really didn't work, he could find a way to suppress the Golden Spider after the Mystic Gate illusory spirit world was completed. Su-Yi felt that the sect master of the Sky Spider sect would definitely not be willing to give up and would definitely come looking for him. Interrogate this old fellow well. I'm going to get busy. Su-Yi instructed and then left. Big Brother, leave this to me. Su Xiaoshui nodded. He grabbed Elder Mu with a small claw and quickly flew away with a flap of his wings. The Dragon Rhinoceros Emperor and the Purple Elephant Emperor continued to patrol the surroundings to prevent anyone from intruding. In less than half a day's time, Su Xiaoshui actually grabbed Elder Mu and flew away again, directly leaving this place. Su-Yi, the Purple Elephant Emperor, and the others naturally noticed this scene. They were very curious about what that guy was going to do. No one cared about Su Xiaoshui. Since this guy had gone out, he must be up to something again. Sect Master, the Origin Stones have been extracted. Su-Yi was helping Merciless West when Nangong Ningyue suddenly came with a space bag in her hand and handed it to Su-Yi. You extracted the Origin Stones so quickly? Su-Yi was overjoyed. He took the interspatial bag and opened it right away, then he retrieved a few Origin Stones and examined them. He was extremely excited. It had only been a few days, and there were already primordial stones being mined. This really surprised him. Although the essence stones that Nangong Ningyu brought were only 1 star, this was only the topmost layer of the mineral deposit. There were definitely higher-grade essence stones below. Su-Yi was in a good mood as he said, "Great, the mining process must be accelerated. Collect all of the primordial stones and hand them over to me as soon as possible. Let's make this mystical gate illusory spirit world work first." "Yes, Sect Master." Nangong Ningyu nodded and left. "Big Brother, how many more days will it take to finish setting up this Li Fire Mystic Yang realm?" Su-Yi returned to Merciless West's side and released his soul power. He drew upon the power of the remnant souls in the space and used it to carve runes. Although he was still unable to set up the entire mystical gate illusory spirit world, this kind of supporting work was already becoming more and more skilled. It should be about done in 3 more days. Merciless West did not even raise her head. She was still carving mysterious patterns with her soul power. Su-Yi nodded when he heard this. 3 days was about the same as he expected. At that time, a certain amount of origin stones should have been mined. He did not dare to say that it was too much, but it should be enough to maintain the operation of the Li Fire Mystic Yang realm for a period of time. Sui did not speak anymore. He was busy, setting up the Li Fire Mystic Yang realm in this mountainous area with merciless west. On the mine, there were now hundreds of people performing their duties. Nangong Ningyu led people to mine the origin stones. Xu Qingfu and the others, who had just joined the Bawang sect, became supervisors. They mainly supervised the mining of those people from the Celestial Spider sect. The periphery was still patrolled by the Purple Elephant Emperor, the Dragon Rhinoceros Emperor, and dozens of Bawang sect disciples. However, this place was not a lively place, so very few people came. However, something lively happened again at night. What's going on? The Purple Elephant Emperor stood in midair and sensed some energy fluctuations from afar. He looked around and suddenly realized that there were more than 1,000 people coming from afar. The Heaven Fiend Poison Spiders, and they're from the Celestial Spider sect. The Dragon Rhinoceros Emperor also noticed this scene. When he saw that some people were riding Heaven Fiend Poison Spiders in front of him, he frowned again. The people from the Celestial Spider sect came with such a large force. Are they looking to die? The Purple Elephant Emperor was puzzled. He was very confused. Luo Jing and Golden Spider were not fools. Why would they send so many disciples from the Celestial Spider sect here at this time? Could it be that they were hot-headed and wanted to rely on these disciples to take back the mine? No, Lord Handsome Su is behind. Suddenly, the Purple Elephant Emperor's eyes narrowed. He saw that there was an old man flying behind these people, slowly following behind more than 1,000 Celestial Spider sect disciples. And on top of this old man's head stood a little bird, looking proud with its head held high. What's going on? The Dragon Rhinoceros Emperor was stunned. For a moment, he was a little confused. Why was Handsome Su with the people from the Celestial Spider sect? It can't be. The Purple Elephant Emperor suddenly swallowed a mouthful of saliva and said with widened eyes, "It can't be that Lord Handsome Su wiped out the entire Celestial Spider sect, right?" The Dragon Rhinoceros Emperor was also shocked. Looking at the formation in front, it really did seem to be the case. The people from the Celestial Spider sect were all dejected, like herded cattle and sheep. Nangong Ningyue, I'll leave these people to you. When they were about to reach the mine, Handsome Su flew back and said. When the 1,000 people were chased into the mine, everyone was shocked, including the hundreds of Celestial Spider sect disciples who were captured earlier. Their expressions changed greatly. Was there such a thing? Did the Celestial Spider sect exist specifically to provide free miners to the Bawang sect? More than 1,000 people were captured all of a sudden. That was definitely a clean sweep. The Celestial Spider sect disciples who stayed behind to guard the sect were basically wiped out. That's great. Nangong Ningyue was incomparably happy. With so many more miners, the mining efficiency would increase by a lot. Lord Handsome Su is really domineering. The Purple Elephant Emperor and the Dragon Rhinoceros Emperor widened their eyes and clicked their tongues in admiration. Perhaps only Handsome Su could come up with this idea. The dozens of disciples who had just joined the Bawang sect were all amazed at this time. They looked at Handsome Su with eyes full of admiration. According to this method, there was no need for them to recruit miners or anything like that. They might as well let the Overlord sect send out a group of experts specifically to sweep the area. Then they could kidnap a few people from other sects and everything would be fine. Handsome Su, how did you get so many people? When Sui found out about the situation, he was also very curious. Logically speaking, the Celestial Spider sect should have received news from Luo Jing and the Golden Spider. They definitely wouldn't send themselves to the Bawang sect. Moreover, they would definitely be on guard against the Bawang sect. What's so difficult about this? Handsome Su curled his lips and didn't care much about this. However, after listening to his story, Su-yi finally understood that this guy had abducted the entire sect back to him. It turned out that before Luo Jing, the Golden Spider, and Elder Mu came to the mine, they had already gathered 700 to 800 people and began to move, preparing to mine vitality stones. However, after this setback, Luo Jing and the Golden Spider sect returned and passed the news to Elder Yuan, who was leading the team. However, many ordinary disciples didn't know about this. After knowing that the mine was occupied, Elder Yuan returned with 700 to 800 disciples and prepared to guard against the Bawang sect. After Luo Jing and the Golden Spider sect told him the news, they left directly. No one knew where they went, but they said that they had important things to do. However, before Elder Yuan brought the disciples back to the Celestial Spider sect, Su Xiaoshui had already gone there under Elder Mu's instructions. He used his fastest speed to suppress all the Yuan Zhen realm and Yuan Void realm cultivators of the Celestial Spider sect. When Elder Yuan really rushed back, he was instantly taken down by Handsome Su again. Just like that, the entire Celestial Spider sect of more than 1,000 people was wiped out in one go. Handsome Su drove these people to the mine as if he was driving chickens and duck. Since it was less than 100 miles away, it didn't take too long. "It can be done like that!" Sui couldn't help but exclaim. He was already ruthless enough to make all the disciples of the Celestial Spider sect stay behind as miners. Handsome Su was even more ruthless than him. He directly went to their door and forcefully escorted them here one by one. In comparison, Su-yi felt that his methods were really gentle. However, Handsome Su's actions opened Su-yi's mind to a new way of thinking. He felt that the Bawang sect could go out and walk around more. When the time came, he would definitely cause trouble and capture all the people of the opposing forces to mine vitality stones for him. This was much better than recruiting miners. At least he could save a lot of vitality stones. Just thinking about it made him happy. This method is really feasible. Su-yi's eyes lit up. He felt that this method was really feasible. Of course, he wouldn't really cause trouble for no reason because there was no need to. There was no need for them to move around at all. Luo Jing and Golden Spider would definitely attract more people. They met up with the disciples of the Celestial Spider sect and then left. It was possible that they really went to get reinforcement. It seemed that the other party really didn't want to let go of this mine. However, Su-yi didn't care about this. It only took a few days to set up the Phantom World. He couldn't wait for more people to come. When the time came, he could take them all down and send them to the mine. It was a sure thing. Everything in the mine was going on in full swing. Some were mining, some were patrolling, and some were overseeing the work. At this time, some news began to spread in the outside world. On one hand, it was mainly because the news of the Alliance Conference was still popular. In addition, the Bawang sect's recent strong performance was talked about by many people. On the other hand, some of the nearby forces also found something strange. Did you hear? The 1,000 or 2,000 people of the Celestial Spider sect seemed to have disappeared into thin air. Suddenly, no one was left in the sect. Chapter 1143. It was unknown how many martial artists were astonished, and some of them felt inexplicably horrified. The Celestial Spider sect was one of the 13th-rate forces in the Chaos region. How could 1,000 or 2,000 people have disappeared without a trace? There was no sound at all. However, this matter could not be hidden for long. After all, when Handsome Su chased the 1,000 people away, he would have left some traces behind. Soon, someone would find them. However, Su-yi and the others did not care about this matter at all. 3 days later, a strange soul power rose up from the ore mine. Strange runes flickered, and the fire mysterious sun world was finally set up. "Big brother, thank you for your hard work." Su-yi was delighted and thanked Merciless West. He took out all the vitality stones that he had plundered from the Gimdeo sect and the 7-star sword school and handed them to his brother. These vitality stones could maintain the operation of the Fire Mystic Sun realm for a while, and there was an endless supply of vitality stones being extracted. We're safe now. The defense here is not any worse than an ordinary second-rated force. Merciless West looked at his work and was very satisfied. Previously, he was in a hurry and did not carefully carve the Fire Mystic Sun realm. In addition, it was his first time setting it up. At the same time, he had to prevent the Big Dipper sect from attacking quickly, so there were many areas that were not comprehensive. However, it was different this time. Merciless West spent a lot of effort and time to make the Spirit Mystic Sun realm in the mine much fiercer than the one that was used to deal with the Big Dipper sect. Of course, in this way, the consumption of primordial stones would be even more terrifying. Big brother, why don't you enter the mysterious space to recover? Leave the matters here to me. Sui said. Okay. Merciless West nodded without hesitation. The two of them found a place where no one was looking, opened the mysterious space, and entered at the same time. Sect leader. Just as they entered the mysterious space, an old man's figure flashed and stood in front of Sui and Merciless West. Wang Zhenquan, you broke through so quickly? Seeing this skinny old man, Sui was also surprised. Wang Zhenquan was originally at the 9th level of the Origin Void stage, and was still quite a distance away from the Origin Monarch stage. He never expected that after consuming the spirit liquid, he would actually break through to the 1st level of the Origin Monarch stage in just over 10 days. This speed indeed surprised Sui. One had to know that when Huang Jian broke through, it took him a very long time. On the path of cultivation, the most important thing is to be steady and steady. If you rush for success, your future path will be even more difficult. You broke through to the Origin Emperor realm too hastily. This isn't a good thing. However, since I've already made a breakthrough, I should spend more time polishing my foundation so that I won't find it difficult to improve in the future. Merciless West stared at Wang Zhenquan and said indifferently, Yes, sir. Hearing this, Wang Zhenquan immediately bowed and said respectfully. Sui frowned slightly. Only now did he understand that this little old man was rushing for success and disregarding his foundation in order to break through. This made him very displeased. My spirit liquid is the rarest and most precious. I won't waste it on you, Sui said softly. He was really displeased. He only felt that it was a little too wasteful to use the spirit liquid like this. However, at this moment, Wang Zhenquan said respectfully to Sui, Sect leader, don't worry. I know what I'm doing. I definitely won't waste sect leader's spirit liquid. The reason why I'm rushing to break through is because I want to contribute more to the Bawang sect. As for my foundation, I still have more than half of the spirit liquid that sect leader gave me. I'll use it to polish my foundation. I definitely won't let the spirit liquid go to waste. Hearing this, Sui's frown finally eased. If that was the case, then it was understandable. Using only half of the spirit liquid to break through to the Origin Emperor realm was already very good. The remaining half of the bottle could indeed help Wang Zhenquan gradually stabilize his foundation. If used properly, there was hope for him to break through to the next level in a few days. That's good. Sui nodded and did not say much. Merciless West also did not say much and sat down cross-legged. Green Emperor, Yin-Yang Emperor of the Dead, and Devouring Spirit Emperor should be breaking through soon. When Sui looked at the three figures in the depths of the space, he could not help but think so. He was looking forward to it. When the three of them broke through again, their strength would be absolutely terrifying. He did not disturb them. Instead, he led Wang Zhenquan out of the mysterious space. What is this place? When Wang Zhenquan walked out of the mysterious space, he was suddenly stunned. This was obviously not where the Bawang sect was. This is a newly excavated primordial stone mine in the Bawang sect. Su Yi did not hide anything and said plainly. However, in Wang Zhengquan's ears, it was like a sudden clap of thunder. What? Primordial stone mine? His voice suddenly rose an octave as he screamed in fear. Then, Su Yi was shocked to see that the old man's eyes were emitting green light. He kept licking his lips with his tongue and looked excited. Mine. Our Bawang sect actually has a primordial stone mine. Wang Zhengquan was so excited that he kept rubbing his hands. He was so happy that he looked like a 60 or 70-year-old child. At this moment, Su Yi felt that the old man's greed was definitely greater than his. He did not say anything about it. He just brought Wang Zhengquan to find some other people. This is the formation map of the Li Fire Mystic Sun Realm. All patrolling people must strictly follow the established route. After meeting with the Purple Elephant Emperor, the Dragon Rhinoceros Emperor, and the others, Su Yi took out the formation map again and handed it to them. The Li Fire Mystic Sun Realm had been set up, and a large number of primordial stones had been placed on the stone platform in the center. Under normal circumstances, as long as no one touched the restriction, the Li Fire Mystic Sun Realm would not open and would only consume a small amount of primordial stones. The entire Mystic Sun Realm was prepared at all times. Once an enemy invaded, it would automatically activate. However, to truly unleash its power, someone had to be in the center. Before that, the people of the Bawang sect needed to understand the route to avoid any mistake. Boss, there are already a lot of people mining now. We have to consider expanding the scale of mining. Su Xiaoshui flapped his wings and said aloud. Su Yi nodded. He had also considered these matters, but he did not plan to personally worry about it. Everything was left to Nangong Ningyue to arrange. After the primordial stones mined are calculated, they will be collected and kept by Wang Zhengquan. It will be the accumulation of our Bawang sect. Su Yi looked at the people present and said, "This old man was very greedy for money. When he saw the primordial stones, his eyes lit up. Su Yi felt that he would leave the management of money to him to see the effect. Anyway, he would definitely not be able to personally worry about this kind of thing in the future. Sect Master." Hearing that he was going to be in charge of the primordial stones, Wang Zhengquan seemed to have been struck by lightning. He was shocked and motionless. His eyes widened as he looked at Su Yi in disbelief, as if he had heard something wrong. The Bawang sect doesn't have many people now. You will be in charge of the primordial stone resources first. Nangong Ningyue will be in charge of the manpower and arrangements. The two of you will work together and take care of these things. Su Yi said. Sect Master, Wang Zhengquan still had not recovered. After a long while, he suddenly knelt on the ground and said in a trembling voice, "Thank you, Sect Master. This subordinate will take care of the Bawang sect's wealth and resources in an orderly manner. I will never let down Sect Master's trust." Wang Zhengquan was really excited. He knew that this was his chance, a chance to rise up. As long as everything was taken care of, there would definitely be a place for him in the Bawang sect's upper echelons in the future. Master is starting to delegate power now. Not only Wang Zhengquan, but the Purple Elephant Emperor, the Dragon Rhinoceros Emperor, and the others also began to realize that Su Yi's words today were already beginning to assign the Bawang sect's various duties. Nangong Ningyue would be in charge of the people and affairs, and the money would be handed over to Wang Zhengquan. Slowly, more people would be assigned different duties. In fact, their guess was right. This was Su Yi's plan. A complete sect definitely could not do without this kind of mechanism. Power also needed to be distributed so that it would be easier to manage. From a certain point of view, Su Yi felt that people like Wang Zhengquan were very suitable to be in charge of money. This guy was greedy, but most greedy people would keep their money. Su Yi felt that he was more or less the same. In addition, Su Yi had no plans to assign titles to his big brother Merciless West, Su Xiaoshui, the Green Emperor, the yin-yang underworld emperor, the dragon rhinoceros emperor, the devouring spirit emperor, the purple elephant emperor, the black turtle emperor, Huang Jian, and the other emperors. For these people, the most important thing was to improve their strength. They were the most powerful force in the Bawang sect. It was impossible for them to worry about so many mundane matters. When the sect was truly powerful, all the titles would be casually assigned by Sui. "Alright, everyone, go do your own things." Sui dismissed everyone except for the dragon rhinoceros emperor, and then brought him into the mysterious space. On this mine, there was finally order gradually. Everyone could completely relax and do their best to work. Everything was running in an orderly manner. Thousands of people were running like a huge machine, each performing their own duties. In the mine, primordial stones were constantly being mined. After a few days, the number of primordial stones excavated was enough for the Leaf Fire Mystic Sun realm to operate for a whole day and night. The Sky Fiend poison of the Sky Fiend poisonous spider is not easy to detoxify. It requires a drop of the poisoner's blood essence to refine the detoxification pill. In the mysterious space, Merciless West quickly recovered more than half. After waking up, he looked at the dragon rhinoceros emperor and said, "That's a little troublesome. I don't know when the golden spider will appear again." Sui couldn't help but frown. "It doesn't matter." Chapter 1144. Seeing this scene, Sui felt much more at ease. He was still worried about the innate baleful poison in the dragon rhinoceros emperor. With Merciless West's elixir, there was no need to worry about the dragon rhinoceros emperor's health. He just didn't know when the golden spider would appear again. When the time came, he had to suppress it and obtain its blood essence. "I'm going to cultivate in peace for a while." After that, Merciless West and the dragon rhinoceros emperor were sent out of the mysterious space, while Sui remained inside. Since the Alliance Conference, Sui hadn't had a good closed-door cultivation for a few months. The primordial Yang Sky bone only has about 20% of the bones left, and the transformation is not complete. Sui sat cross-legged on the ground and gently closed his eyes. Previously, on the Nirvana Dragon platform, he had refined more than 100 primordial Yang Sky bones at an astonishing speed. Sui later found out that the young experts on the other 9 levels of the Nirvana Dragon platform had only obtained a limited amount of benefits, which was countless times worse than the previous years. Others didn't know the reason, but Sui knew that it had something to do with him after thinking about it for a while. After robbing so many people, Sui was able to improve so much. Now, he could only slowly cultivate for the rest of the time. Based on his previous speed, it would take a lot of time to reach the 6th level of the mixed Yuan demon body. "Let's cultivate martial techniques first," Sui thought to himself. Pieces of information flashed in his mind, and the cultivation method of the 8 Desolation Wrath appeared in his memory. 8 Desolation Wrath, like the Overlord Fist, was a martial technique from the Mixed Yuan Supreme Technique. The Overlord Fist was simple, domineering, and extremely violent. It had the effect of defeating 10 with one's strength. It could destroy mountains, shake mountains, and destroy everything. The 8 Desolation Wrath was different. It was a leg technique that was relatively more complicated, but it was also domineering and had the momentum to kick in all directions. The 8 Desolation Wrath had a total of 3 moves. The first 2 moves were the 1-foot suppressing mountains and rivers and the violent shadow shattering 9 nether. Sui had already mastered them, and they were his trump cards. The third style of 8 Desolation Wrath, 9 Extinction shaking the universe. Sui muttered the name of the third move. The detailed cultivation method for this move flashed through his mind simultaneously. The origin energy in his body began to circulate according to the circulation route. The Yuan Qi in Sui's body surged towards his legs. All of a sudden, his cross-legged figure bounced up from the ground and flew into the air. Su Yi's right foot suddenly stomped fiercely on the void. It was so powerful that it was as if a mountain had crashed down, causing a huge tremor. Even the surrounding space was shaking. Just as the momentum began to spread, the young man in the air moved again and fiercely stomped his foot again. Boom! An even louder sound reverberated through the air. It was at least twice as loud as before. But all of this was just the beginning. After Su Yi's 2 feet landed one after another, he continued to stomp several more times. Each time, it was as if a huge mountain had shaken the sky, and each time, it was more powerful than the previous one. The power was multiplied. In just a short span of 2 breaths, 9 consecutive stomps had been made. It was only until the last stomp that the momentum of the first stomp dissipated. And the power of this last stomp had reached a terrifying level. In the mysterious space, everything within a mile radius was trembling incessantly. It was as if thousands of mountains were collapsing at the same time, fiercely surging. Su Yi landed on the void, and the surrounding momentum gradually disappeared. He placed his hands on his knees and panted heavily. Large beads of sweat rolled down from his forehead. No, it's still too far away. When the momentum calmed down, Su Yi frowned tightly. He only felt that the power he displayed was still far away from the real 9 extremes, heaven-shaking 9 extremes. According to the requirements of the cultivation method, the 9 stomps had to be made in the blink of an eye. The power of each stomp would increase exponentially. When it came to the last stomp, the real power was already more than 500 times of the first stomp. One had to admit that this was a little too terrifying. However, Su Yi was very clear that his last stomp was still too far away from this stage. According to the description, 9 extremes, heaven-shaking 9 extremes could really shake heaven and earth, which was to shake the space. Such power could only be achieved by a true origin emperor powerhouse. Continue to cultivate. Su Yi took a few breaths and then flew into the air again, kicking out one after another ferociously. He continued to cultivate this martial technique. The tyrannical power shook unceasingly, setting off one fierce storm after another in the mysterious space. This third move of 8 desolation wrath consumed a terrifying amount of vitality. If it were an ordinary origin void realm martial artist, it would probably be difficult to cultivate even once. It was also fortunate that Su Yi's great void divine sea was vast and boundless. His vitality was many times more vigorous than ordinary people. This was why he could cultivate again and again. However, after half a day, Su Yi stopped again. He only felt that some parts of his body were experiencing intense soreness. This was something that rarely happened. These painful places are all places that have not tempered the primordial yang heavenly bone. After perceiving, Su Yi discovered such a situation. Most of the bones in his body had transformed into the primordial yang heavenly bone, but there were still dozens of bones that had not transformed. And at this time, it was the corresponding organizations in these places that could not withstand the power of 9 extremes, heaven-shaking 9 extremes. It seems that this third move of 9 extremes, heaven-shaking 9 extremes, heaven-shaking 9 extremes cannot be used smoothly after cultivating it successfully. It must also be built on the foundation that the primordial yang heavenly bone has completely transformed. Su Yi pondered and came to this understanding. Fortunately, Su Yi's leg bones had already transformed into yuan yang heavenly bones. Therefore, although there was a little pain, he could still endure it. However, he knew that if he wanted to unleash the true power of the 9 extinction heaven-shaking 9 extinction, he had to first refine all of the yuan yang heavenly bones. Let's take it one step at a time. By the time I master this move, perhaps the primordial yang heavenly bone will have been completely tempered, Su Yi thought to himself. He sat cross-legged on the ground and began to regulate his breathing. He began to restore the primordial qi in the great void spirit sea. In the following half a month, Su-yi was completely immersed in this state of cultivation. When he was full of energy, he tried his best to explore the way of cultivation of the 9 seals that shook the universe. When his power was exhausted, he would seriously recover and not be impatient. During this time, he also paid attention to the situation of the people in the mysterious space. The Green Emperor, the Yin-Yang Emperor of the Dead, and the Devouring Spirit Emperor were all full of demonic aura. The aura of the 3 Beast Emperors rose steadily and became more and more terrifying. It caused the space to tremble and shake. It was faintly distorted and terrifying folds appeared in a flash. This was also because they were in the mysterious space. If they were in the outside world, who knew how many people would be alarmed and countless savage demonic beasts would tremble in fear? The 2 from the Sky Spider sect did not appear again. I don't know why. Su-yi also took some time out of the mysterious space in the past 10 days to walk around the mine. To his surprise, Luo Jing and the Golden Spider from the Sky Spider sect, who had come aggressively earlier, did not appear for a long time. They had said that if Su-yi did not agree to the conditions of mining together, they would inform a second-rate force about this place. However, Su-yi was not afraid. With the illusory spirit world, even if a second-rate force came out in full force, they could not really crush the Bawang sect. Therefore, Su-yi was a little disappointed. He wanted to see how much stronger the Fire Mystic Sun realm set up by his elder brother, Merciless West, was compared to the last time. Of course, in the end, it was naturally a good thing that there were no enemies. The only thing that he cared about was the blood essence of the Golden Spider. As the mining process progressed, more and more primordial stones were excavated. There were a total of almost 2,000 primordial stones. The efficiency was very high. During this period of time, Handsome Su had recruited a group of people from somewhere. When it's about time, I have to pay back the debt to the Lingbao Pavilion first. Su-yi calculated the time. There were less than 2 months left before the 1-year deadline. If he did not pay back the 1 billion 1-star primordial stones that he owed the Lingbao Pavilion, Su-yi would feel guilty in his heart. In addition, he always felt that although the black card of the Lingbao Pavilion had great authority, it was estimated that there would be credit evaluation similar to the banks in his previous life. If he was late, there might be trouble. At the very least, there would be a stain on his record. It would probably not be easy to get credit in the future. Continue to cultivate. Su-yi made up his mind. As long as the primordial stones mined from the mine were enough, he would choose a day to pay back the debt. The most important thing now was to cultivate. This 9 Extinction Qian Kuan should have the momentum to suppress everything. Every kick should carry the spirit of breaking the universe. Su-yi carefully pondered, constantly thinking about the key points of the 9 Extinction Qian Kuan. The cultivation of this move would be a relatively long process. If he wanted to really use it in actual combat and exert its power, he was afraid that it would take a lot of time. Time passed quickly, and another half a month passed unknowingly. Su-yi had been immersed in cultivation all this time. It was also on this day that a terrifying sound of thunder broke out in the mysterious space. Rumble, bolts of lightning slashed vertically and horizontally in the sky, like terrifying electric dragons swimming in the sky. The momentum was so great that it shook everything. The power in the mysterious space was stirred up, and a storm was formed, sweeping toward the surroundings. It was as if it could destroy the mountains and shake the mountains. It was extremely terrifying. A large part of the sky was shrouded in haze. The wind between heaven and earth swept, and a variety of strange phenomena appeared. What happened? This situation suddenly alarmed Su-yi. In the medicine field not far away, the blood jasper ginseng also ran out and asked Su-yi in horror. The terrifying pressure between heaven and earth made the blood jasper ginseng unable to resist. Chapter 1145. It's the Green Emperor. Very quickly, Sui shouted out. Such a mighty aura came from none other than the Green Emperor. At this time, the green figure was still sitting cross-legged with his eyes closed, in a state of cultivation. However, under the gazes of Sui and the blood jade spirit ginseng, his body gradually rose into the air and directly rose into the air like a valiant god. The wind under his feet roared and the lightning above his head coiled up. He was indescribably majestic and domineering. Woo-woo, the Green Emperor's body seemed to expand. Green light shone brightly, and with a terrifying woo-woo sound, he turned into a huge snake that was dozens of feet long. This huge snake was ferocious. Its body was covered in green scales, but it had 2 pairs of wings that flapped open and closed. Buzz buzz. The 4 wings flapped, and the sound was like a bell. Its aura was fierce, and its blood-red eyes were terrifying. The Green Emperor's Mingxi body is much stronger than before. Sui looked at this scene with a cold gaze. When he first saw the Green Emperor's body, 1 pair of wings was huge, and the other pair was very small. But now, the small pair of wings had grown and were only slightly smaller than the big pair. The Green Emperor's body was a Mingxi, but his bloodline was not very pure. However, Sui felt that his bloodline was not inferior to the purest Mingxi. Sui could even see that on the Green Emperor's body, there were wisps of imperceptible golden light flickering. That was the aura of the golden dragon. Could it be that the Green Emperor has completely refined that drop of golden dragon blood essence? Seeing such a powerful aura, Sui's heart trembled. At the same time, he was also looking forward to it. He wondered what benefits that drop of golden dragon blood essence could bring to the Green Emperor. Boom, boom, boom. Thunder rumbled and lightning flashed, illuminating a terrifying scene in the mysterious space. In this scene, the Mingxi's aura was surging crazily and becoming more and more powerful. From the peak of the LV5 Demon Emperor realm at the beginning, he directly broke through the barrier and entered the LV6 Demon Emperor realm. Moreover, his momentum did not stop. He rushed all the way to the peak of the LV6 Demon Emperor realm. Whoosh whoosh whoosh, the hurricane was howling and everything was still going on. Sui and the blood jasper spirit ginseng both saw that the golden light on the Green Emperor's body, which was originally hard to detect, suddenly became obvious, as if a layer of golden gauze was covering its body. When the golden light appeared, his aura suddenly rose again. Roar, a dragon-like roar reverberated, causing people's minds to tremble. It was unknown what kind of power had attacked the dark clouds and lightning in the sky, but it instantly collapsed and exploded under this dragon-like roar. Whoosh, LV7 Demon Emperor Realm, peak of LV7 Demon Emperor Realm, whoosh, 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 whoosh. Under the 2-colored fog, the terrifying roar of a flood dragon rang out. Then, the Yin-Yang Emperor of the Netherworld rose into the sky. The Yin-Yang Emperor of the Dead let out a long roar that sounded like a dragon's roar. Then, his body shone brightly as layers of black and white scales spread out from his body. His body also started to expand. Everything happened very quickly. The void trembled violently. A huge flood dragon that was hundreds of feet long soared into the sky. Its scales were black on the left and white on the right. They had a metallic texture and emitted a dim light. Its aura at the peak of LV5 Demon Royal Realm swept out without reservation. The flood dragon's head was ferocious as it opened its bloody mouth and roared ferociously. The Yin-Yang Hell Emperor is about to make a breakthrough. Sui's gaze fell there, and his heart began to throb. The Green Emperor and the Yin-Yang Underworld Emperor had both received a drop of golden dragon blood essence from him. Now that the Green Emperor had successfully broken through, the Yin-Yang Hell Emperor should not be any weaker than him. His eyes were fixed on the scene. He wanted to witness all of this happen. What a terrifying beast emperor! The aura of these 2 beast emperors is too terrifying. the blood jasper ginseng said in a daze. He had not recovered from the momentum of the Green Emperor's breakthrough. At the same time, the place where the Yin-Yang Hell Emperor stood was filled with endless black and white light. The huge Yin-Yang Hell Flood Dragon's body twisted, as if he was bathed in the light. His aura soared. The process was almost the same as that of the Green Emperor. They both started from the peak of LV5 Demon Royal Realm, and finally stopped at LV8 Demon Royal Realm. The Yin-Yang Hell Emperor's body was also emitting a terrifying golden dragon's aura. Golden light burst out. Su-Yi and the blood jasper ginseng widened their eyes as they watched all of this. They were both shocked. A beast emperor at LV8 Demon Royal Realm. What a terrifying cultivation! In a normal battle, an ordinary LV9 Origin Royal Realm martial artist would probably be no match for them. Perhaps only existences like the merciless West could pose a great threat to them. In other words, as long as they did not encounter those abnormal human beings, the Green Emperor and the Yin-Yang Hell Emperor could do whatever they wanted with their current cultivation. The Bawang sect's strength has grown stronger. Su-Yi unconsciously clenched his fist. He was very excited. The stronger the strength of the people around him, the stronger the Bawang sect as a whole. Su-Yi was getting closer to his goal. He knew very well that it was impossible for him to compete with the sacred mountain with his own strength. Only when the Bawang sect grew stronger could he wash away all the humiliation he had suffered in the past. Master! Just as Su-Yi was thinking, the Green Emperor, who had successfully broken through, landed beside him and transformed into a human. Su-Yi nodded and did not say anything. He was still staring at the Yin-Yang Hell Emperor. What is the Yin-Yang Hell Emperor doing? Not long after, Su-Yi began to feel a little strange because he saw that the Yin-Yang Hell Emperor had successfully broken through to the LV8 Demon Royal Realm. However, it seemed that everything was not over yet. The Green Emperor and the Blood Jasper Ginseng also looked curiously at the Yin-Yang Hell Emperor. Under their gazes, the Yin-Yang Hell Emperor's huge body was coiled up in the void, emitting a terrifying golden light. However, the strange thing was that the Yin-Yang Hell Emperor's strength did not continue to increase under this pressure. Instead, his body gradually coiled up. The huge body of the dragon slowly gathered into a pile. The energy in his body was slowly withdrawn and no longer fluctuated. He was like an ordinary snake that was hibernating in winter. What is this guy doing? The Green Emperor was also a little puzzled, and could not help but raise his eyebrows. Although there were many doubts, Su-Yi and the others did not disturb the Yin-Yang Hell Emperor. They just watched quietly. First, they saw the Yin-Yang Hell Dragon's body coiled up. Then, the golden light shone again and covered his entire body, making it impossible to see clearly again. Then, a large amount of black and white fog rolled in. As if it was attracted by some mysterious force, it covered the body of the dragon. Nothing could be seen anymore. Su-Yi and the other two looked at each other, and did not understand what was going on. However, they were not in a hurry. They were still watching with rapt attention. The vast black and white fog was activated and intertwined. Everything seemed to have calmed down for the time being. However, Su-Yi and the others did not have to wait for too long. Only 2 hours later, they could clearly see that the black and white fog began to change dramatically. The black and white colors began to separate on both sides. Half of the fog was dark and deep, while the other half was white and dazzling. They were clearly separated. Roar! The terrible cry of the dragon spread out. It sounded like a dragon's roar. It was terrifying and mixed with great pain. What's going on? Su-Yi, the Green Emperor, and the Blood Jasper Ginseng were all puzzled. However, they did not dare to step forward rashly. Under their worried gazes, the black and white lights finally separated completely. But from the looks of it, it was as if something that was originally a single entity had suddenly been forcefully torn apart. When the two balls of light separated, Su-yi and the others did not see the body of the Yin-Yang Hell Emperor appear. This was very strange. "I know," the Green Emperor suddenly exclaimed and said with amazement. "He has the body of Yin and Yang coexisting. This time they are completely separated. This must be it. There's no mistake." The corners of the Green Emperor's eyes twitched. He knew about the Yin-Yang Hell Emperor, so it was not difficult for him to guess this result. "Is that so?" Su-yi was also full of expectation. He understood when the Green Emperor explained. He knew that the Yin-Yang Hell Emperor had the body of Yin and Yang coexisting. This was not the same as the ordinary Yin-Yang Hell Flood Dragons. The ordinary Yin-Yang Hell Flood Dragons were hermaphrodite. However, when they reached the Demon Royal Realm, they could choose one according to their will. Eventually, their gender would be stable and would not change. However, the Yin-Yang Hell Emperor was different. He could change his gender at any time. This was an extremely rare body constitution. However, when he was with Su-yi and the others, the Yin-Yang Hell Emperor appeared as a man. However, at this time, the power of Yin and Yang had been separated. According to the Green Emperor, the Yin-Yang Hell Emperor had become two independent people. "Look, they are about to appear," the Green Emperor exclaimed again. There was some shock in his eyes. Chapter 1146. That's when the light dissipated. Su-yi was stunned when he saw the scene before him. A black flood dragon, dozens of feet long, was entrenched in the void in the place where the black light had covered. A white flood dragon appeared in the place where the white light had come from. The two flood dragons were huge and sturdy, and they looked majestic. They woke up from their slumber and began to twist their bodies. Roar! The two flood dragons roared softly, and then light bloomed from their bodies again. In the next moment, the two flood dragons suddenly changed into human figures, a man and a woman. "Master!" After the man and the woman appeared, they immediately came to Su-yi and greeted him respectfully. Both of them looked very young, less than 30 years old. The man was handsome, with sword-like eyebrows and bright eyes. He wore a white robe, which was the appearance of the Yin-Yang Emperor of the Netherworld. Su-yi had seen the Yin-Yang Emperor of the Netherworld once. Her lips were like cherry blossoms, her eyebrows were like ink paintings, and her spirit was like autumn water. She had an indescribable charm and was extremely beautiful. The woman was tall, and a black veil was wrapped tightly around her graceful body, revealing an almost perfect curve, which made her even more enchanting. Su-yi was still in shock as he looked at the situation. Initially, there was only one person. Now there were two of them. He was still a little unprepared. Su-yi had never thought that the Yin-Yang Emperor of the Netherworld could have such an ability. He had thought that he could at most change between men and women. "Did I scare you, master?" The woman of the Yin-Yang Emperor of the Netherworld suddenly covered her mouth and smiled. Her eyes unconsciously revealed a teasing look, with infinite charm. Of course, Su-yi was not scared, nor would he be moved by the woman's beauty. He suddenly smiled helplessly and asked, "You are both transformed by the Yin-Yang Emperor of the Netherworld. But now, are you still the same person?" This was the biggest doubt in Su-yi's heart. The Yin-Yang Emperor of the Netherworld was originally the same person, who could freely change between men and women. But now that they were separated, were they still the same person? Would they still share the same soul? "Master, we were originally one, but now we are completely separated." The Yin-Yang Emperor of the Dead smiled and said to Su-yi, "Moreover, not only are our physical bodies separated, but our souls are also separated. We each have the same memories of the past. In other words, from now on, we are two completely different people. We will have different perceptions and feelings. Most importantly, I'm a man and she's a woman." At the end of his sentence, the man looked at the woman beside him. "Is that so?" Su-yi nodded. Now he understood. The Yin-Yang Hell Flood Dragon Clan's experts would have completely stabilized their gender when they broke through to the Demon Emperor realm. However, an accident had happened to the Yin-Yang Hell Emperor, which led to the birth of the Yin-Yang coexisting body. Now, it seemed that this was not a bad thing. After they separated, it meant that the Bawang sect suddenly had another demon emperor. As long as they were still loyal to him, this shouldn't be a bad thing for Sui. Then, after you separated, did your strength also decrease? Sui suddenly raised his eyebrows and asked. Not long ago, he sensed that the Yin-Yang Emperor of the Dead had broken through to the LV8 Demon Emperor realm, just like the Green Emperor. This cultivation was very terrifying. However, if there was a loss because of separation, it didn't seem to be worth the loss. Now, the two of them were restraining their auras. With Su Yi's cultivation, he couldn't see clearly. Don't worry, Master. The woman suddenly smiled and said gently, although we separated and our strength did decrease a lot, we both stabilized at the LV8 Demon Emperor realm and didn't fall. That's great. Su Yi was overjoyed. It was not as simple as having one more Beast Emperor. It was a Beast Emperor at the LV8 Demon Emperor realm, which was a bit too scary. It could be said that the overall strength of the Bawang sect had reached a huge level. However, when Su Yi was just beginning to feel happy, what the man said next shocked Su Yi even more. From now on, the two of us will be independent and can practice separately. After all, we are from the same body, so we have a lot of commonalities. The man slightly raised the corners of his mouth and said calmly, so, when necessary, we can still fight as one, which can directly double our strength. Double our strength? Sui was shocked. If so, it would be really terrifying. After the two Beast Emperors at the LV8 Demon Emperor realm joined as one, their strength would be double. Don't underestimate this double. It's not something that the previous two people could compare to. However, when Su Yi was just shocked, the man transformed by the Yin-Yang Emperor of the Dead added lightly, it could also be triple, or even more. Su Yi wanted to say something, but when he heard this, he opened his mouth but could not say anything for a long time. If the Yin-Yang Emperor of the Dead's strength was tripled, how strong would he be? Even his big brother, Merciless West, would not dare to say that he would definitely win if he fought with him. In other words, the Bawang sect now had two experts who were close to the half-origin Grandmaster realm. After all, Hong Qianlong, the sect leader of the Tiangang sect, had only tied with his big brother, Merciless West. The advanced level of the Demon Emperor realm. When can I reach this level? The Blood Jade Spirit Ginseng sighed from the side. It looked at the people present with endless envy in its eyes. Su Yi and the others did not notice the Blood Jasper Ginseng's sigh. He continued to look at the man and woman transformed by the Yin-Yang Emperor of the Dead and asked, now that you have split into two people, you should also have new names, so that it will be easier to distinguish you. Master, our original bodies are the Yin-Yang Hell Flood Dragons. Now we are like normal Yin-Yang Hell Flood Dragons and have chosen the only cultivation path in the Demon Emperor realm. So, from now on, you can call me Yang Ming and Shi Yin Ming. The man transformed by the Yin-Yang Emperor of the Dead said. Yin Ming and Yang Ming. Su Yi nodded. These two names were easy to remember and easy to pronounce. Very soon, this matter was settled. Su Yi continued to chat with them. Only then did he recover from the shock brought by the Yin-Yang Emperor of the Dead's transformation. He began to ask them about some specific things and the Green Emperor's situation after his breakthrough. What's wrong with you? However, when Sui looked at the Green Emperor, he saw that he was staring at Yin Ming, as if he was in a daze. Master, what did you say? Hearing Su Yi's question, the Green Emperor was stunned for a breath's time. Then, he looked away and fixed his eyes on Su Yi. But obviously, his throat moved unconsciously just now. The corners of Su Yi's mouth involuntarily curled into a smile when he saw this scene. Could it be that this fellow was tempted by Yin Ming? Yang Ming smiled knowingly towards this and didn't say anything. On the contrary, Yin Ming suddenly blushed. Her mature and enchanting posture showed a strange shyness. It was really strange. Sui did not care about this. He did not want to interfere too much with what happened to these two people in the future. Have you finished refining the golden dragon essence blood? After a while, Sui changed the topic and asked the three of them. Master, I have finished refining the golden dragon essence blood. Otherwise, I would not have improved so much. Furthermore, I also obtained a special technique of the Golden Dragon clan from the blood essence left behind. The Green Emperor thought for a while and told Sui the result of his breakthrough. Through his narration, Sui was also shocked. It had to be said that the bloodline of the Golden Dragon clan was too terrifying. Just a drop of essence blood could make the Green Emperor undergo a huge transformation. Now, the bloodline in his body was no longer the simple Mingxi bloodline, but the Golden Dragon bloodline. His physical body also had some characteristics of the Dragon Clan, and he could use the Dragon Clan's attack method. Speaking of this change, it was not particularly big at the moment. However, as time passed, everything would become more terrifying. In addition, the Green Emperor also obtained a Golden Dragon Clan's innate divine ability, which was an attack method. We are about the same. We also obtained an attack method, and it is very powerful. After hearing the Green Emperor's words, Yang Ming also spoke. His benefits were exactly the same as Yin Ming's. After Yin and Yang were separated, the methods they grasped didn't disappear. They both grasped them. However, the Golden Dragon bloodline in their bodies was much thinner than the Green Emperor's. If they wanted to transform in the future, the speed might be slower. Of course, this was only the case in theory. Everything depended on their cultivation and their own opportunities. This time, the harvest is huge. Sui was extremely satisfied. Looking at the three people in front of him, he was filled with boundless joy. A drop of Golden Dragon essence blood could produce such a huge effect. The separation of the Yin and Yang underworld emperors Yin and Yang was also due to the Golden Dragon essence blood. In an instant, the overall strength of the Bawang sect improved a lot. Yin Ming and Yang Ming's strength was a little weaker than the Green Emperor's, but if they combined, they would be much stronger. Sui thought that if this had happened earlier, when the Tiangang sect invaded the Bawang sect, they would have had a good chance to kill Hong Qianlong in the Li Fire Mystic Yang realm. Let's wait a little longer. The spirit-devouring emperor should be breaking through soon. I don't know what level he will reach this time. Sui glanced around, and all the strange phenomena in the space disappeared at this time. However, in another place, the spirit-devouring emperor's aura was still vigorous, and there was a strong icy aura spreading out as if it could freeze people's souls. Chapter 1147. When he said that he was going to cultivate in seclusion, he told Sui that he was only showing signs of a breakthrough, but he might not be able to break through to the 6th level of the Demon Emperor realm. Therefore, Sui did not have high expectations. After all, the spirit-devouring emperor did not get the same benefits as the Golden Dragon's blood essence. Sui thought that it would be good enough if the spirit-devouring emperor could successfully break through to the 6th level of the Demon Emperor realm. Even if the spirit-devouring emperor did not break through this time, he thought it was acceptable. However, to the surprise of Sui, the Green Emperor, and the others, the space around the spirit-devouring emperor was completely filled with a cold aura. His strength was rising steadily. The 5th level of the Demon Emperor realm, the peak of the 5th level of the Demon Emperor realm, the 6th level of the Demon Emperor realm, the peak of the 6th level of the Demon Emperor realm. The spirit-devouring emperor's breakthrough did not stop until he reached the peak of the 6th level of the Demon Emperor realm. In the end, it slowly stabilized. When the cold aura in the sky dissipated, the short figure appeared again. Master! The spirit-devouring emperor came to Su-yi with great excitement and bowed respectfully. His old face was full of gratitude. If it were not for Su-yi, the spirit-devouring emperor knew that his cultivation would still be at the third level of the demon emperor realm. However, in just a few months he had crossed more than 3 levels. This was unimaginable in the past. The inheritance in this mysterious space was indeed terrifying. Therefore, the spirit-devouring emperor was so excited that his body could not help but tremble. However, after a while, when his eyes met the Green Emperor, Yang Ming and Yin Ming, he was stunned. The spirit-devouring emperor was very confused and had endless questions in an instant. However, the 3 beast emperors in front of him were all looking at him with a faint smile. They are Yang Ming and Yin Ming. They are the 2 incarnations of the Yin-Yang Emperor of the Underworld and the Green Emperor. The 3 of them have broken through to the 8th level of the Demon Emperor realm. Su-yi looked at the spirit-devouring emperor and could not help but explain. The 8th level of the Demon Emperor realm. Hearing this, the devouring spirit emperor's eyes widened like copper bells in an instant. His face was filled with disbelief. In the next moment, the excitement on his face turned into a bitter smile. What the hell, he had been complacent about the fact that he had broken through a little more than 1 level. But now, he saw that the Green Emperor and the Yin-Yang Ghost Emperor had both broken through to the 8th level of the Demon Royal Realm. Most importantly, the Yin-Yang Emperor of the Dead had split into 2 people, both of whom were at the LV8 Demon Royal Realm. How were they supposed to compete? Wasn't this too much of a blow? The spirit-devouring emperor felt very helpless. It seemed that the earlier he followed his master, the more benefits he would receive, and the faster his strength would increase. Fortunately, he could still find a sense of superiority from the Purple Elephant Emperor, the Dragon Rhinoceros Emperor, and the Black Turtle Emperor. Thinking of this made him feel much better. Since you've all finished breaking through, you may all leave. The Bawang sect is in dire need of people. Su-yi said to the Green Emperor, Yang Ming, Yin Ming, and the Spirit-Devouring Emperor. Before they went into seclusion, Su-yi had not opened the primordial stones, nor had he told them about it. Therefore, he simply told them about the situation outside. They left the mysterious space. After meeting Merciless West, the Purple Elephant Emperor, the Dragon Rhinoceros Emperor, and the others, they spent some time telling them about the Yin-Yang Emperor of the Dead split into Yang Ming and Yin Ming, which attracted a lot of exclamations. After knowing that there were 3 Beast Emperors, and now there were 4 Beast Emperors, the Purple Elephant Emperor and the Dragon Rhinoceros Emperor were greatly shocked. Sect Leader, here are the primordial stones you asked for. They've all been gathered. Not long after Su-yi came out of seclusion, Wang Zhengquan ran over and handed him a space bag. Su-yi opened it and saw countless primordial stones neatly placed inside. They were all 1-star primordial stones. 1 billion 1-star primordial stones, you've gathered them? Su-yi's heart relaxed. This was what he asked Wang Zhengquan to prepare for the Spirit Treasures Pavilion to repay their debt. However, he had only borrowed 3-star primordial stones. Now that it had become 1-star primordial stones, he didn't know if the Spirit Treasures Pavilion would have any objections. In fact, Su-yi was also very helpless about this. After all, only the surface of the mine was mined, and the primordial stones were all 1-star primordial stones. According to the results of Nangong Ningyue's later investigation, he knew that higher-grade primordial stones would inevitably appear. However, there was not much time left. It would be too late to repay the debt by then. It feels so good to have a mine at home. I can repay the debt so soon. Su-yi sighed with emotion. When he borrowed so many primordial stones, he had been worried for a long time. He couldn't think of any good way to repay the huge debt. Now that a primordial stone mine had been mined, he could repay the debt in less than 2 months. This didn't include the many resources prepared for the Lee Fire Mystic Sun world. Big brother, I'm going to the Spirit Treasures Pavilion. I'll leave the mine to you. Su-Yi and the others gathered in a large hall that had been opened up. He said to Merciless West, "If you have something to do, go do it yourself. With me here, even if any second-rate force comes out in full force, we can still block them." Merciless West said. With the Mystic Gate illusory spirit world set up, coupled with a large amount of primordial stone's energy, Merciless West had enough confidence to defend this place. Even if an origin ancestor attacked, he wouldn't be afraid. Green Emperor, Yang Ming, Yin Ming, Devouring Spirit Emperor, the four of you stay in the mine. Purple Elephant Emperor, Dragon Rhino Emperor, return to the sect to guard. There needs to be experts there as well. Su-Yi instructed again to arrange personnel. The mine was very important, and they couldn't afford to lose it. Therefore, he had to leave the strongest forces there. Under the leadership of his big brother, Merciless West, and the four Beast Emperors, they could definitely protect this place. Besides, the Bawang sect was also very important. Most importantly, the Bawang sect was currently recruiting people and expanding. If there weren't a few Beast Emperors in the sect, there might be some trouble. If the Purple Elephant Emperor and Dragon Rhino Emperor returned, along with the Black Turtle Emperor and Huang Jian, they would be able to defend even if a third-rate force attacked. Yes, Master. The Beast Emperors all agreed respectfully. Let's go back and take a look at the situation. After Su-Yi gave a few more instructions, he didn't waste any more time in the mine. He brought Su Xiaoshui, the Purple Elephant Emperor, and the Dragon Rhino Emperor with him. They rode on the flaming winged demonic tiger and flew in the direction of the Bawang sect. The place where the Feng family village was originally located was very secluded and was a rare place. However, as the Bawang sect grew more and more people, the location would be exposed sooner or later. Therefore, Su-Yi wanted to quickly expand the Bawang sect's strength during this period of time and stabilize there. When the time came, he would ask his big brother, Merciless West, to set up the Phantom World. Everything would be in place. Maybe I can try the 1,000 Demons Refining Deity formation when I have time. Thinking of the Phantom World, Su-Yi couldn't help but think of the 1,000 Demons Refining Deity formation. Last time, he had swallowed a total of 200,000 two-star essence stones, but the 10,000 Demon Refining God Array was like a pool of stagnant water that had bubbled up. It seemed to be telling Su-Yi that this mystical gate illusory spirit world was good. If it weren't for Merciless West stopping him, Su-Yi would have thrown in another 100,000 or 200,000 two-star origin stones to make it work. However, now that he thought about it, the Bawang sect had a mine, and it wasn't an ordinary mine. Now, could he continue to experiment with the 1,000 Demons Refining Deity formation? However, when he did the math, Su-Yi felt that the method of swallowing origin stones was a bit too much. Even if his family had a mine, it probably wouldn't be able to bear it. Thinking about it, he didn't know how rich the Tianyao school had been back then. We're almost there. In less than a day's time, Su-Yi and the others had quickly covered more than half of the distance. At this moment they saw a shocking scene. They saw many figures appearing and disappearing in the surrounding forest, looking extremely leisurely. At the same time, many people were enthusiastically discussing something with each other. As they walked forward, the closer they got to the Bawang sect, the more people there were. What's going on? Su-Yi and the others were stunned. They didn't know what was going on, and they didn't deliberately listen to the conversations of the people below. When they were close to the Bawang sect, the number of people gradually decreased until they disappeared. Sect Master. When Su-Yi and the others returned to the Bawang sect, Huang Jian and the Black Turtle Emperor immediately greeted them. Su-Yi didn't talk nonsense and asked about the recent situation. Huang Jian immediately reported everything to him. Recently, the Overlord sect has become a very popular sect. Many rogue cultivators have come to join us because of our reputation. In the past month or so, we've gone through a relatively strict selection process and accepted thousands of disciples. Huang Jian looked at Su Yi and said, "There are still many rogue cultivators who are observing. We don't force them. Everything is voluntary and they have to go through a strict selection process." Su Yi couldn't help but nod. Thousands of people were already quite a number. It was also suitable for the Bawang sect's current scale. If there were more, it would be difficult to control. If you find good seedlings, you can nurture them and give them some positions. If the Bawang sect wants to get on the right track, these are all things that must be done. Su Yi thought for a moment and said, "Elder Huang will be the first guardian of the Bawang sect. This has been decided long ago. In addition, the Bawang sect will set up a heavenly demon temple to rule over all the savage beasts in the Bawang sect. The Purple Elephant Emperor, the Dragon Rhinoceros Emperor, and the Black Turtle Emperor will temporarily be the three guardians of the heavenly demon temple. As for the others, they will be arranged in the future. The four of you emperors will oversee the sect and prevent any trouble. Also, I don't trust many people in the Bawang sect now. Most of them have been sent to the mines, and only the few of you are left. Therefore, there are many things that I have to rely on you to do. I'll have to trouble all of you during this period of time. When everything is settled, I'll naturally give you the treatment you deserve. When I'm not in the sect, you can arrange your subordinates' positions." "Yes, sect master." "Yes, master." Chapter 1148. The four Emperor-level powerhouses knew very well that Su Yi had allowed them to arrange their own subordinates' positions, which meant that he had complete trust in them. The few of them understood that such power could not be used carelessly in their hands. Especially Huang Jian, who was the only human-origin emperor guarding the Bawang sect. It could be said that all the disciples were under his command. If there were any mistakes in the personnel, there would definitely be trouble over time. The Bawang sect wants to expand, but there's no need to be rash. It's best to take it one step at a time. We have more and more people, and our corresponding mechanism has to keep up. These matters will be decided by you and set according to the same standards as other sections," Su Yi said again. He already had some preliminary ideas in his heart, but he still needed to slowly implement them. For example, the large amount of resources mined from the primordial stone mine could be used to cultivate the disciples of the Overlord sect. Just like other forces, as long as the disciples served the Overlord sect, they would be able to receive cultivation resources on a monthly basis. 4 outstanding people and those who made outstanding contributions to the sect, some rewards were also needed. In addition, there were some laws that needed to be perfected. A department similar to the punishment hall could be set up to restrain the disciples in the sect. However, Su Yi did not have any suitable subordinates to preside over this. "I'm going out for a while. I'll have to trouble you with the matters of the Bawang sect." In the end, Su Yi did not stay in the sect for long and left with Su Xiaoshui. He did not even take the flaming-winged devil tiger with him. After changing his appearance slightly, Su Yi forced Su Xiaoshui into his arms and stepped on the road. He was now a very famous person in the Chaos region. So many people had seen him in the 9-star city. Therefore, Su Yi wanted to keep a low profile, so he could only change his appearance and hide Su Xiaoshui. "Boss, which city are we going to pay the debt?" On the way, Su Xiaoshui could not help but poke his head out of Su Yi's arms and ask him. "Let's go to Sword Star City." Su Yi thought for a moment and said. Sword Star City was a city that he was relatively familiar with. Although there were other cities closer, Su Yi was not sure if the Spirit Treasure Pavilion would exist there. In addition, the 7-star Sword School and the Gimdeo sect had been destroyed. The cities under these two forces must have been taken over by the Xianjian sect and the Liuhe sect. Sui also wanted to see the specific situation. To a certain extent, those cities belonged to the Bawang sect. When the Bawang sect gets on the right track, I'll have to take back the city as soon as possible. Sui thought to himself. Every city corresponded to a massive amount of income. Those third-rate sects mainly relied on cities to obtain large amounts of resources, allowing their sects to operate without hindrance. Now that those few cities were handed over to the Xianjian sect and the Liuhe sect to control, half of the income would definitely not be a small amount. However, Sui knew clearly in his heart that if it were not for the Xianjian sect and the Liuhe sect, the Bawang sect would probably only be able to watch those few cities fall into the hands of others. Therefore, the current situation was a win-win situation for both sides. Sui's speed wasn't very fast. He'd changed his appearance and looked to be a young man around the age of 23 or 24, and he didn't reveal his cultivation at the 5th level of the Origin Void stage. He'd only casually found an Origin Spirit stage flying demon beast to ride on. Along the way, he also encountered some sectless cultivators, but they did not have much interaction with each other. I'm almost there. After spending a total of 3 days, Sui finally saw the silhouette of Sword Star City from afar. He descended from the back of the demon beast and began to walk towards the city when he was a few miles away from the city gate. The area where the Bawang sect was at was the Demon Clan's territory. It was originally occupied by the Yin-Yang Underworld Emperor, the Devouring Spirit Emperor, the Purple Elephant Emperor, the Mysterious Turtle Emperor, the Dragon Rhinoceros Emperor, and many other beast emperors. The people from the surrounding forces would not easily step into the territory. However, the situation had changed now. Many people knew that Sui had subdued a few beast emperors, so that place was no longer as dangerous as before. Many people who wanted to rely on the Bawang sect had recently appeared in that area without a hitch. At that moment, Sui walked out of the Demon Clan's territory and arrived near the human city. He felt like a country bumpkin entering a city. Many figures were wandering around the city. There were all kinds of people. Let's enter the city directly. Sui did not stay outside the city for long. He quickly crossed the city gate and entered the city. Sword Star City was much more lively than the outside. It was not Sui's first time here, so he was slightly familiar with the place. Boss, are we going to the Spirit Treasures Pavilion to pay off the debt first? Su Xiaoshui secretly poked his head out and looked around. Let's go to the Spirit Treasures Pavilion first. There are still some spiritual herbs to be sold along the way. Sui nodded and immediately led Su Xiaoshui to the Spirit Treasures Pavilion. Not long after, the man and the bird stopped in front of the spacious shop. The business of the Spirit Treasures Pavilion is as good as ever. Sui saw many rogue cultivators lining up in front of the shop. They all wanted to enter the Spirit Treasures Pavilion to buy and sell items. The line stretched all the way to the street. However, Sui did not line up behind the crowd. He walked directly through the crowd, which attracted many dissatisfied voices. However, none of the rogue cultivators said anything. Instead, some people looked at Sui's back and sneered. How dare he cut the line at the entrance of the Spirit Treasures Pavilion? I don't know if he's ignorant or too bold. A faint sneer came from the crowd and entered Sui's ears. Everyone in the line agreed with this statement because everyone knew that the Spirit Treasures Pavilion was not to be trifled with. Most people who put on airs here would not have a good ending. Brother, please line up at the back. Sure enough, when Sui arrived at the entrance of the Lingbao Hall, a disciple of the Lingbao Hall in his 20s stopped him with an expressionless face. Although the disciple spoke politely, there was enough arrogance in his voice. This was the source of the Spirit Treasures Pavilion's confidence. When doing business, one had to be amiable, but at the same time there were strict rules. The rogue cultivators lining up outside the door also laughed. In front of the Spirit Treasures Pavilion, only the strong had special privileges, and this young man had to line up at the back of the crowd obediently. However, in the next moment, everyone saw that the young man took out a black card and waved it in front of the Spirit Treasures Pavilion disciple. The Spirit Treasures Pavilion disciple was stunned at first. Then, as if he had seen a ghost, his eyes widened and his body trembled. "I want to see shopkeeper Xiahou," Sui said calmly. "Please, sir, please." The Spirit Treasures Pavilion disciple recovered from his shock and immediately led Sui into the shop, no longer caring about the situation outside. The rogue cultivators lining up were also stunned on the spot, none of them understanding the situation. However, they quickly guessed one thing, and that was that the young man just now had a frightening identity. He was definitely not an ordinary person. Under the lead of the Spirit Treasures Pavilion disciple, Sui did not stop at the first floor at all and went straight to the top floor. "Distinguished guest, please wait a moment. I will immediately invite the shopkeeper over to personally entertain you." The Spirit Treasures Pavilion disciple was somewhat nervous. Of course, he knew what the black card represented in the Spirit Treasures Pavilion. However, there were probably only a few people of that level in the entire 6 continents, 3 continents and 1 sea. It was almost impossible for one to appear in this small sword star city. Who would have thought that he would meet one today, and such a young one at that, which caught him off guard. His previous negligence caused him to panic in his heart, but it was not good for him to beg for mercy. He could only sneak another glance at Sui before retreating. What the disciple did not know was that a few months ago, this young man had also come to the Spirit Treasures Pavilion once and showed the black card. However, at that time, it was shopkeeper Xiahou who received him. His identity had been kept a secret, and there were very few people in the Spirit Treasures Pavilion who knew about it. It's so suffocating. When only Sui was left in the private room, Su Xiaoshui suddenly popped his head out from his arms. There was no one around. The muscles on Sui's face wriggled, and he removed the disguise technique and changed back to his original appearance. Since he had come to the Spirit Treasures Pavilion and showed the black card, his identity could not be hidden here. "Distinguished guest, please excuse me for not going out to welcome you." After a while, an old man entered the private room. He cupped his hands and said to Sui, "I am the shopkeeper of the Spirit Treasures Pavilion, Zhao Si. Distinguished guest, please tell me what you need." As he spoke, a look of surprise flashed across the old man's eyes. When he heard that someone came with a black card, he guessed that it was very likely to be Sui. He had seen this young man not long ago, and the huge storms in the Chaos region were almost all related to him. He could not help but sigh. "Shopkeeper Zhao? Is shopkeeper Xiahou not here?" Sui was stunned when he heard this and blurted out. The last time he came to the Spirit Treasures Pavilion, it was shopkeeper Xiahou who received him. It had only been a few months and the shopkeeper had changed? "Distinguished guest, you may not know, but I have been the shopkeeper here for dozens of years. The last time I came here, it was just that Lord Xiahou happened to come here for some business. He has already left." The old man who called himself Zhao Si chuckled and said to Sui, "Lord Xiahou." Sui nodded. He had guessed before that shopkeeper Xiahou was not so simple. He did not expect that the old man would call him Lord. It was obvious that his identity was not ordinary. "Distinguished guest, may I know what you need this time?" Zhao Si did not beat around the bush and asked directly. He looked at the young man in front of him and did not look down on him because of his young age. It should be known that it was this young man who had recently caused chaos in the Chaos region. In the Alliance Conference, many disciples of the powerful forces had suffered great losses at his hands. It had to be said that the shopkeeper of the Spirit Treasures Pavilion had a keen eye. He had discovered that this young man was not ordinary and had signed a black card to befriend him. Thinking about it now, it was really admirable. The 1-year deadline is almost up. I am here to repay my debt. Chapter 1149. Shopkeeper Zhao took the spatial bag and opened it to take a look. He was obviously slightly surprised. In Zhongzhou City, Su Yi had borrowed a large amount of origin stones from the Spirit Treasures Pavilion in order to bid for a strange wooden chest from the demon subduing sect. Moreover, Su Yi had also come here to repay a small amount of origin stones last time. It's rumored that the Bawang sect recently discovered a origin stone mine. Looks like the rumors are true. Shopkeeper Zhao said with a smile after confirming the amount of origin stones. Under normal circumstances, a teenager without any powerful force to rely on would definitely not be able to repay the huge sum of 1 billion origin stones in a year. But now Su Yi had done it, and Shopkeeper Zhao's heart throbbed. However, he quickly thought of the many recent rumors. It was said that many people in the Heavenly Spider sect were related to this matter. At that time, I borrowed more than 100,000 origin stones, but now I can only take out 1 origin stone to repay the debt. Do I need to make some additional compensation? Su Yi looked at the old man and asked. Everyone in the world knew that origin stones were rare, and high-grade origin stones were even more precious. For every grade of origin stone, its value would increase by 100-fold. This was a normal calculation method. However, no one would be willing to exchange a high-grade origin stone for a low-grade one, because the loss would not make up for the gains. Moreover, Su Yi had borrowed 3 origin stones at that time, and now he was using 1 origin stone to repay the debt. There was a difference of 2 grades. If the Spirit Treasures Pavilion asked him for additional compensation, or gave him a small portion of interest, it would be reasonable. For this, Su Yi had prepared a lot of origin stones on him. Ha ha ha! Hearing Su Yi's words, Shopkeeper Zhao suddenly laughed heartily and said, "Honored guest, you're too polite. You have the Spirit Treasures Pavilion's black card, and your status is respected. Why would you need any compensation for such a small matter? According to the normal value, 1 billion origin stones is just right. I'll immediately hand over these origin stones, and all the debt you borrowed from the Spirit Treasures Pavilion will be considered paid." If that's the case, then many thanks. Su Yi was slightly surprised, but he still thanked him sincerely. He became more and more curious. Just what was the identity of the graceful lady called Lan Yelyan in the Relay City in the barbaric demon forest back then? She actually signed a black card for him, allowing him to have such great convenience in the Spirit Treasure Pavilion. Honored guest, you're too polite. Shopkeeper Zhao smiled again. I still have some things to sell. I'll have to trouble Shopkeeper Zhao to help me estimate the price, and then exchange them all for other medicinal pills and herbs. I'll go downstairs to pick them myself. Su Yi retrieved another interspatial bag and handed it to Shopkeeper Zhao. Inside were some pills and spirit herbs, all of which had been stored in the mysterious space for a long time. Their grades had been greatly improved, and their value had also increased exponentially. I'll do it right away. Please wait for a moment. Shopkeeper Zhao took the 2 spatial bags and left. Su Yi didn't stay upstairs for long. Little handsome Su stood on his shoulder, and the 2 of them went down to the 3rd floor. So many star-grade pills and star-grade spirit herbs. There were many display counters on the 3rd floor. Bottles of medicinal pills were placed in the middle of them. There were also many jade boxes containing spirit herbs. All of them were of the star grade. Moreover, they were all of the star grade. This made Su Yi very shocked. He had bought things in the Spirit Treasure Pavilion before, but when he saw such a scene on the 3rd floor, he couldn't help but feel his scalp go numb. There were so many high star-grade pills and spirit herbs, and the Spirit Treasure Pavilion just put them up for sale. It was really not something that ordinary shops would dare to do. But then again, not just anyone could come up to the third floor. At this moment, Su-yi was the only one on the third floor. For ordinary warriors, it was impossible to buy pills and spirit herbs of this grade. Only those people from large forces or the experts among the rogue cultivators could buy them. Su-yi reckoned that there would only be experts occasionally coming to buy things on the third floor of the Spirit Treasure Pavilion. After all, this was only a small sword star city, and there weren't many true experts around. It was far from an existence like the Central Continent city. I want all of these pills. Su-yi pointed at a few bottles of pills and said. It was a pity that although those spirit herbs were of high grade, they had all withered and couldn't be planted in the mysterious space. Yes. The disciple of the Spirit Treasure Pavilion, who had led Su-yi in earlier, followed behind him. He packed up all the things that Su-yi pointed at and began to calculate the total price. These are all good things, but it's a pity that I can't afford too much. Su-yi curled his lips. Looking at the many pills and spirit herbs, his heart was itching. If these things were placed in the mysterious space, the overall effect would be raised to another level, and the value would increase by several times. Unfortunately, these things were very expensive. Even though Su-yi's family owned a mine, he didn't dare to buy too much. After all, only a small part of the mine had been mined. Su-yi thought to himself that it was time to prepare a large number of pills and spirit herbs. These would become part of the Bawang sect's foundation. If the Bawang sect wanted to expand, these were indispensable. There are even yellow-grade pills. When Su-yi was walking around the third floor, he saw a cabinet in a corner. There was a bottle of pills in it, and it was called the Yellow Jade Yang pill. This kind of pill was usually consumed by high-level Origin Void Realm expert. It had a huge effect on breaking through to the Origin Emperor realm and could increase the chances of breaking through by 20%. Su-yi couldn't help but be speechless. It wasn't just because of the effect of the Yellow Jade Yang pill, but more so because of the price. 2,000 3-star Origin stones. Su-yi was amazed that the price was so high. 2,000 3-star Origin stones was equivalent to 20 million 1-star Origin stones. Ordinary people couldn't afford it. Perhaps, some experts juniors weren't talented enough and would choose this kind of pill to help them break through. I'd better go to the second floor to take a look. Su-yi put handsome Su back into his arms and walked down the stairs. Although the things on the third floor were good, it was unrealistic for Su-yi to buy them in bulk with his current financial resources. Moreover, he didn't need a pill like the Yellow Jade Yang pill. The others in the Bawang sect didn't need it either. The mysterious space and the effect of the spiritual liquid were definitely much better than this pill. After Su-yi went to the second floor, he chose a lot of pills and spiritual herbs that were still alive. VIP, you still have to pay the Spirit Treasures Pavilion another 10,000 2-star Origin stones. When Su-yi was about to leave, shopkeeper Zhao appeared again and calculated all the accounts for Su-yi. Because of the black card, Su-yi sold the items at a very high price, and the items he wanted to buy were all greatly discounted. This was a treatment that others couldn't enjoy. Okay. Su-yi didn't calculate too seriously. He was still very confident in the reputation of the Spirit Treasures Pavilion. Because he had taken a few star-grade pills on the third floor, the value of the things he had given earlier was not enough to offset it. Su-yi didn't have 10,000 2-star Origin stones. Almost all he had were 1-star Origin stones. After paying 1 million 1-star Origin stones, Su-yi changed his appearance again and left the Spirit Treasures Pavilion. Let's go to the City Lord's mansion to take a look. I don't know if the Xianjian sect or the Liuhe sect is in charge of the Sword Star City. Under the respectful escort of the Spirit Treasures Pavilion's disciples, Su-yi once again stepped onto the street. When he left, there were still a few rogue cultivators who had lined up to enter the Spirit Treasures Pavilion who had not yet entered. When they saw Sui walk out, these people immediately smiled bitterly and sighed that one really couldn't judge a book by its cover. "Boss, let's buy more seasoning. We haven't eaten meat for a long time." On the street, Sui walked slowly and was not in a hurry. Handsome Sue poked his head out from his collar and swallowed his saliva. "You only know how to eat. How good would it be if you put more energy into cultivation?" Sui pushed him back and said with a roll of his eyes. He knew that Handsome Sue was still thinking about what happened last time. The three beast emperors, the purple elephant emperor, the dragon rhinoceros emperor, and the mystic turtle emperor, were already on the stove with seasoning. They were roasted and stewed until they were almost cooked. Unexpectedly, the meat in front of his mouth flew away in the end. This made Handsome Sue depressed for a long time, so he had been complaining about eating meat recently. "Boss, I'm now at the second level of the Demon Monarch stage. And if I want to break through, I need to eat more." Handsome Sue poked half of his head out again and snorted in dissatisfaction. Sui was speechless after hearing this. He had to admit that Handsome Sue was telling the truth. Compared to his hard work and cultivation, Handsome Sue's breakthrough was simply too easy. When he broke through the threshold of the 5th level of the Origin Void stage on the Nirvana Dragon Arena, Sui thought that he was closer to Handsome Sue's level. Who would have thought that this guy would step into the 2nd level of the Demon Monarch stage in such a short time? Now, the gap between the two of them had become even wider. "I'm worse than a bird." Sui shook his head and smiled bitterly. The Phoenix bloodline was naturally powerful. This benefit was really enviable. He did not say anything else and really bought a lot of seasoning. Other than that, Sui also bought a large cauldron, which was very thick. He also found a craftsman who specialized in making ordinary tools to fit the cauldron with a thick lid, the kind that could be tightly fastened and sealed. "This is a real pressure cooker. It'll be much more convenient to stew in the future." Sui was very satisfied and kept the cauldron. This was a trick that he came up with when he stewed the Mystic Turtle Emperor last time. "Let's go to the city governor's estate." After everything was done, Sui went in the direction of the city governor's estate. Just as he was walking on the street with Handsome Sue, he suddenly saw two people fighting not far away, and some things on the street were damaged. "It's a private fight in the city. All the damaged things must be compensated according to the price." A short while after the fight started, another group of people rushed over from afar. They were all dressed in the same uniform and surrounded the two people who were fighting in the middle. Chapter 1150. 13 Broken Green Bricks, compensation of 13 one-star primordial stones. With such a price, even Sui could not help but raise his eyebrows. The two of them had really suffered a huge loss this time. A broken green brick had to be compensated with a one-star primordial stone. How could this matter be justified? However, this was Sword Star City, the territory of a third-rate force. No one dared to go against their wishes. "What are you looking at? The city lord's mansion has matters to attend to. Disperse." After the group of people were fined, they shouted at the surrounding crowd with an extremely arrogant expression. No one on the street dared to stay here. If they were to go against the city lord's mansion, they would not have a good ending. They are not from the Xianjian sect, nor are they from the Liuhe sect. What is going on? Sui was suddenly puzzled. He looked at the attire of the group of young disciples. He had never seen them before. This made him feel very strange. Logically speaking, the Sword Star City should be under the control of the Xianjian sect and the Liuhe sect. Why would the people from the city lord's mansion have different attires? Just as he was looking around curiously, the leader of the group of people suddenly turned his head and stared at Sui. "Kid, what are you looking at?" The leader was a young man of about 30 years old. His face was fat and his eyes were staring fiercely at Sui. Kid, get lost. Don't block the path of our fifth young master. Get out of the way, or else we won't be polite to you. Behind the young man, a few more people opened their mouths and shouted arrogantly. Sui immediately frowned. He was puzzled. He did not expect these people to be so arrogant and domineering. It's better to avoid trouble. Forget it, Sui thought to himself. Now that Sword Star City was his territory, there was no need for him to argue with these people. Moreover, this was the rule of the Chaos region. The only thing he needed was for Sui to back down a little. As for his doubts, he would know everything when he reached the City Lord's mansion. Sui made up his mind and moved his body slightly, wanting to make way for them. He didn't even circulate his origin chi as he quickly retreated into the distance. When the group of people from the City Lord's mansion saw this scene, they were all stunned and felt very surprised. They originally wanted to find an excuse to find fault with that kid and make him suffer a small loss. They didn't expect that the other party's speed would be so fast. This was really a displeasing thing. When the young man in the lead saw this, a sneer appeared on his face. He suddenly launched a palm print and hit the bluestone slabs on the ground with a boom, shattering several bluestone bricks. Brat, these 5 bricks were damaged by you. Compensate me with 5 one-star origin stones. After the young man finished his actions, he continued to walk towards Sui. At the same time, he extended his hand and waved it twice in front of Sui. What? Sui was stunned. There was such a thing? This was no longer an excuse to rob. This was clearly framing and framing. Brat, are you deaf? You damaged 5 bricks. Compensate according to the price, which is 5 one-star origin stones. Quickly hand over the origin stones. Otherwise, don't blame us for being rude. The people behind the young man suddenly surrounded him. At the same time, someone in front sneered and shouted. Brat, quickly take out the origin stones if you know what's good for you. The young man in the lead was called Wu Tianping. The fat on his face jiggled as he looked at Sui and said. He didn't know why, but he was a little unhappy with this kid. There were so many people on the street. When they saw the team from the City Lord's mansion, they had to take a detour. Under his command, everyone was like a mouse that saw a cat. They couldn't hide in time. This kid, on the other hand, didn't have any expression the whole time. He was so calm that it made people's hair stand on end. This was also the main reason why Wu Tianping deliberately found trouble with him. People from the City Lord's mansion? Sui slightly curled up the corner of his mouth and said indifferently, 5 one-star origin stones, right? I have a 2-star origin stone here. Give me 95 one-star origin stones. As he spoke, he took out a 2-star origin stone from his space bag and threw it in front of Wu Tianping. When Wu Tianping and the others saw this, their eyes instantly lit up. They didn't expect that this kid in front of them actually had a 2-star origin stone. This was really surprising. With excitement, Wu Tianping stretched out his hand. What a joke! If this 2-star origin stone fell into his hands, how could he give away 95 one-star origin stones? Those would definitely belong to him. However, when he stretched out his hand, he directly grabbed empty air. Sui pulled his hand back in time. Kid, what are you doing? Wu Tianping was a little angry. He felt like he was being played, and his heart was filled with anger. However, for the sake of the origin stones, he suppressed his anger and asked aloud. You're from the City Lord's mansion, right? I've never been there before. I want to take a look at the City Lord's mansion. If you can bring me in, not only will I give you this 2-star origin stone, I can give you 10 more. Sui said as he tossed the origin stones in his hand again. Indeed, he didn't know the exact location of the City Lord's mansion. In fact, it would be easy to find it if he asked around. However, at this time, there were people from the City Lord's mansion here. Sui thought that it would be better to let them bring him there. 10 2-star origin stones. The people from the city lord's mansion were stunned again. They didn't expect that they would actually meet a tycoon today. Kid, you're too presumptuous. What kind of place is the city lord's mansion? Is it a place that you can visit just because you want to? In front of everyone, there was another young man beside Wu Tianping. After the initial excitement, he immediately calmed down and lightly shouted. If they casually brought someone to visit the city lord's mansion, if something went wrong, they would be in big trouble. This kind of thing didn't dare to easily agree to. However, Wu Tianping immediately gave him a look, indicating that this young man shouldn't say anything more. Brat, are you serious? The fat on Wu Tianping's face trembled as he asked in a deep voice. Of course. Su Yi smiled. He took out another 10 two-star origin stones and waved it in front of Wu Tianping and the others. In fact, Su Yi already had very few two-star origin stones in his hands. There were only a few dozen left. The rest were all used up in the Li Fire Mystic Yang realm previously. Okay. Wu Tianping's small eyes shot out a strong light, and a warm and friendly smile appeared on his face. He said, Little brother, please. I'll bring you to visit the city lord's mansion now. Young Master Wu, when the young man beside him saw that Wu Tianping agreed, his heart sank. He wanted to stop him, but Wu Tianping glared at him and made him shrink back. Wu Tianping turned sideways and let Su Yi walk with him. Then, the people from the city lord's mansion all followed behind. Let's go. Su Yi didn't even look at Wu Tianping. He just walked in the direction of the city lord's mansion openly. What an ignorant brat. He actually dares to go to the city lord's mansion with these people. In the distance, some people on the street heard the conversation between Su Yi and Wu Tianping and the others from afar. They couldn't help but murmur. Don't say, he really has a lot of two-star origin stones on him. He actually took out 11 two-star origin stones at once. There were also people who sighed with emotion. They felt that the brat just now was really rich. 11 two-star origin stones were equivalent to 1,101 star origin stones. This was absolutely a huge fortune for some loose cultivators below the origin spirit realm. It was enough to make many people jealous. So what if he has more two-star origin stones? He doesn't even understand the principle of not leaking wealth. He's just a complete hothead. Now, he's being brought to the city lord's mansion by those people. No matter how many things he has on him, he can't keep them. That's right. How can the city lord's mansion be so easy to enter? Without the corresponding strength and background, he still dared to take the initiative to find them. This clearly shows that there's something wrong with his brain. Some people in the distance saw the situation just now. At this time, they all opened their mouths to discuss. They had rich experience and had been wandering in the Chaos region for a long time. They all knew the rules here. To put it bluntly, Sword Star City was a territory controlled by a third-rate force. Their purpose was to amass wealth and at the same time, provide a place for countless loose cultivators to barter. Under normal circumstances, the city lord's mansion would not find trouble with them. However, once they were given an excuse, even if you were at the origin spirit realm or even the origin void realm, you would have to behave yourself. No one had ever dared to take the initiative to provoke the city lord's mansion. Whether it was under the control of the 7-star sword school in the past or under the control of the Xianjian sect now, it was the same principle. One could imagine that the kid had just revealed his wealth and took the initiative to go to the city lord's mansion. He would definitely be robbed clean. If he was not careful, he might even lose his life. However, although this kind of strange thing was rare, this was the Chaos region. The people on the street did not think too much about it. After a few words of discussion, they dispersed. In fact, Wu Tianping's thoughts were exactly the same as those people's guesses. The city lord's mansion was indeed not a place where they could casually bring people in. However, as long as they reached there, they could just casually give the kid a charge. When the time came, wouldn't they be able to do anything to him? We're here. Sword Star City was not big. The speed of Sui and the others was very fast. Not long after, they arrived at the city lord's mansion. In front of him, a mansion that could barely be called grand appeared in front of him. It was built with green bricks and red tiles. The lintel was tall and wide. Little brother, we've arrived at the city lord's mansion. A total of 11 two-star origin stones. Standing outside the city lord's mansion, Wu Tianpeng looked at Sui with a smile and stretched out a fat palm. I said that I wanted to go in and take a look. I haven't even gone in yet. Sui curled his lips. It was impossible for him to give out 11 two-star origin stones. It was better to see who was in charge of this place first. If he really gave the young man the origin stones later, the other party would not dare to take it. Kid, don't fail to appreciate my kindness. Wu Tianpeng's face instantly turned gloomy. He stared coldly at Sui and shouted. Chapter 1151. Wu Tianpeng was clear that if he did not get the 11 origin stones before stepping into the city lord's mansion, it would probably not fall into his pocket at that time. I've said it very clearly before. If you bring me into the city lord's mansion, these 11 two-star origin stones will all belong to you. But now I haven't even gone in yet, and you're asking for origin stones from me. Do you think I'll give it to you? Sui raised his eyebrows and said as a matter of course. Kid, you'd better be sensible. Otherwise, you'll suffer. Wu Tianpeng's face became extremely ugly, and his pair of fat fists also clenched tightly. They had already walked to the entrance of the city lord's mansion. This kid definitely could not escape, but it was best to get the origin stones first. Humph! If you don't bring me into the city lord's mansion, then I'll go in myself. Sui glanced at the group of people beside him, then directly stepped out and walked towards the tall and wide entrance of the city lord's mansion. When Wu Tianpeng and the rest saw this scene, they suddenly turned pale with fright. What kind of joke was this? If they let this kid take a step into the city lord's mansion like this, once those lords above knew, then they would be punished. Seeing that Sui had already stepped out, Wu Tianpeng and the rest did not dare to delay and immediately chased after him. Everyone's origin chi surged, and one attack after another was instantly launched. All of them attacked Sui, vowing to capture him on the spot. As for the 11 origin stones, they could no longer care about it at this time. Walala, a large expanse of light swept out. It was a riot of colors, and there were all kinds of energy of different attribute. However, in the next instant, Wu Tianpeng and the rest only saw that kid's figure flashed, and then all of their attacks directly blasted elsewhere. Rumble, a majestic and robust stone lion at the entrance of the city lord's mansion, was turned into fine powder in the blink of an eye under these forces. A thick and solid pillar was also directly shaken off, and immediately smoke and dust rose everywhere. Oh no! Seeing such a scene, the hearts of Wu Tianpeng and the people behind him sank to the bottom. How were they going to explain this to those lords? Looking again at the kid from before, he had already rushed to the entrance and directly stepped in. Quickly chase! Wu Tianpeng and the others broke out in cold sweat and chased after him without stopping. They were all panicking in their hearts. They did not expect that an ordinary-looking brat would actually be so powerful. He could calmly escape from so many of them. Who dares to trespass into the city lord's mansion? Sui had just stepped through the gates of the city lord's mansion when a shout rang out from within. Soon after, dozens of figures flashed over and quickly landed in front of him. The commotion outside had attracted the attention of these people. So, it is Xianjian faction that is guarding this place. Sui stopped in his tracks. He saw that some of the people in front of him were dressed in the style of Xianjian faction. Among them, There were a few familiar faces. The other group of people wore the same clothes as the people behind them. "Who are you?" Dozens of people surrounded Su-yi in the middle. The leading disciple of Xianjian faction shouted. Su-yi didn't answer. His facial muscles wriggled, and he returned to his original appearance. At this time, Wu Tianping and the others had already caught up from outside. When they saw this scene, they were stunned. Disguise technique. Wu Tianping was shocked. He had heard of this technique before, but it was not something that ordinary people could do. He did not expect this brat to know how to do it. What surprised him even more was that the person standing in front of him was only a teenager of 16 or 17 years old. He was almost half his age. "Can I come out now? I'm almost bored to death." A crisp voice of a child could be heard from Su-yi's arms. After little handsome Su stuck his head out, he quickly flew out and landed on Su-yi's shoulder. Beast! Beast, empty realm? Wu Zhengpeng and the people behind him felt their scalps go numb. A little bird that could talk was too scary. Cold sweat rolled down their foreheads. This young man actually had a demonic illusionary realm barbaric demonic beast accompanying him. At this moment, these people all felt an extreme sense of lingering fear. If this young man wanted to, they would have died 100 times on the street just now. Faction leader Su. After Su-yi returned to his original appearance, a disciple of Xianjian sect recognized him immediately. This disciple had been to 9-Star City with them before. However, he was not very strong and did not participate in the alliance meeting. That was why he could recognize Su-yi at first glance. "Oh, faction leader Su is here. Please, please." The disciple waved his hand and signaled the dozens of people around him to make way for Su-yi. "All right." Su-yi nodded. Without the slightest hesitation, he immediately walked over. The disciple from Xianjian faction who spoke earlier quickly ran after Chen Xiaobei and led him to a huge hall in front of him. The remaining dozens of people looked at his back and watched as the two of them left. Faction leader Su? Which faction leader Su is this? Wu Tianping was suddenly at a loss. He realized that the young man's identity was not simple, but the words Sect Master Su made him confused. One of the Xianjian sect's disciples glanced at him and said in disdain, "You don't even know who faction leader Su is? Are all of you Crimson Tiger sect useless?" After hearing what he said, Wu Tianping was even more confused. However, he did not dare to talk back to the Xianjian sect's disciples. However, at this moment, another Xianjian sect's disciple suddenly exclaimed in admiration. At the same time, he said with envy, "He's only 17 years old and he's already a faction leader with a cultivation base of 5th level origin void stage. Faction leader Su is really terrifying. If only I had half of his talent." That's right. The 7-Star Sword School and Gimdeo sect were easily annihilated by him. Even the Heavenly Dipper sect who came here aggressively had to return empty-handed in the end. Faction leader Su's name will definitely shake the entire Chaos region in the future. Another Xianjian sect's disciple said. There's no need to wait until the future. In the current Chaos region, who doesn't know faction leader Su's name? Who doesn't know about him? Someone continued to say. Z Original Edition N Premier ****. After hearing these words, Wu Tianping and the people behind him were stunned. After listening to the last part, a thought flashed across Wu Tianping's mind. He slapped his thigh and said, "Could this faction leader Su be the champion of the Alliance Conference, the faction leader of the Bawang sect, Su-yi?" After he finished speaking, it was as though he was struck by lightning. He was stunned and did not move at all. There was no need for anyone to confirm it. Wu Tianping was certain that this was the truth. In just a split second, all of the Crimson Tiger sect's disciples, including him, could not help but tremble. Endless fear rose in their hearts. When they recalled what they had done today, it was as though they were provoking the Almighty. They were completely digging their own graves. Wu Tianping was in a daze. He must have eaten lard to blind him. How could he offend such a person? At the thought of this, the fear in his heart continued to surge. He was so shocked that he did not notice the looks of disdain from the Xianjian sect's disciples. One of the Xianjian sect's disciples suddenly asked, "What was that commotion outside?" Upon hearing this, Wu Tianping's scalp tensed up. Of course, he knew what the disciple was talking about. The huge stone lion and the thick pillar outside the governor's mansion had been destroyed. This was something that could not be hidden. If it was just to deal with ordinary people, it would be fine. At most, they would compensate according to the price. Those things were not worth much anyway. However, he could not tell these people from Xianjian sect that they were trying to capture the faction leader of the Bawang sect, Su Yi. Just now, Wu Tianping stammered, unable to say anything. His entire body was soaked in sweat. Under the lead of the Xianjian sect's disciples, Su Yi quickly entered the main hall. "Faction leader Su, please take a seat. I will immediately inform Elder Lu to come over." The Xianjian sect's disciple arranged a seat for Su Yi and asked the waiter to serve tea. After that, he quickly left. Not long after, an old man in his 50s with hair as black as ink walked in from the main door. He cupped his fists at Su Yi and said, "Faction leader Su, welcome. Please forgive me for not coming out to meet you." "Elder Lu, you don't have to be so polite," Su Yi replied with a bow. He could tell that Elder Lu was indeed very polite. Su Yi had never seen this person before. However, after sensing for a while, he could tell that the other party's cultivation level was around the beginner level of the Origin Emperor realm. He was suitable to be an elder of Xianjian sect. The two of them exchanged some pleasantries. Elder Lu also informed Su Yi that he was the current governor of Sword Star City. "Faction leader Su has already told me that Sword Star City belongs to Bawang sect. Our Xianjian sect is only temporarily managing it. Therefore, I will not be overly courteous with faction leader Su." Elder Lu was also a straightforward person. He immediately said to Su Yi, "Actually, sect leader Ji had previously gone to Bawang sect to look for faction leader Su. However, Bawang sect seems to have moved to another location. I wonder." He looked at Su Yi and was puzzled. "Is there such a thing?" Su Yi was stunned. It turned out that Ji Tianfu had actually gone to look for him. He said to Elder Lu, "Bawang sect has indeed moved to another location. However, I have not had the time to inform Xianjian sect and Liuhe sect. However, I wonder if sect leader Ji was looking for me for something important?" As an ally, Su Yi felt that it was necessary for him to let Xianjian sect and Liuhe sect know about his new location so that they could trust him. Otherwise, if something big happened and they could not even find him, it would be really awkward. "Haha, it's not a big deal." Elder Lu laughed heartily. He took out a spatial bag and passed it to Su Yi. He said, "This is half of the resources that the 7-star sword school collected from the 3 cities. It is the Bawang sect's share. Since the sect leader could not find Bawang sect, he left these with me. Now I can pass them to faction leader Su." Su Yi immediately took it and opened it. Good heavens! There were millions of 2-star vitality stones neatly arranged inside. Other than that, there were also many elixirs and spiritual herbs. Chapter 1152. One had to admit that the income of a third-rate sect was indeed considerable. The amount of resources was enough to cover their expenses for a long time. Originally, there were a total of 3 cities under the 7-star sword sect, and the income within them was considerable. After the 7-star sword school was annihilated, they collected so many resources. It was indeed a delightful income. Su Yi thought to himself, "If I were to sell all 3 cities, how many origin stones would it be worth?" Sect Leader Su, this income is nothing. There will be more benefits in the future. With the 3 cities added together, we should be able to provide this amount of resources every year, Elder Lu said with a smile. Su-yi nodded. Every year, they would be able to provide a large amount of resources. It was an endless stream of wealth. Therefore, if he wanted to sell a city, he would be walking into a dead end. Su-yi now had the ore mine in his hands. If he really needed origin stones, a few cities added together wouldn't be able to match up to a corner of the rich ore mine. Thank you, Elder Lu. After keeping the space bag, Su-yi was in a good mood. He reckoned that he would make a trip to the 2 cities that were originally under Gimdeo sect. He reckoned that Lu Hei sect must have plundered quite a lot of benefit. Oh yeah, is there any other force that is managing Sword Star City together with Xianjian sect? Su-yi suddenly asked curiously. It was because the young disciples that were patrolling the streets earlier weren't from Xianjian sect. It was a little strange. Elder Lu smiled bitterly and said, Sect Leader Su, you don't know. Our Xianjian sect already has 3 cities to manage. It would be a little strenuous to manage another 3 cities. Therefore, we recruited a few 4th or 5th-rate forces to help and shared some benefits with them. In the end, we still don't have enough manpower. If we send out too many people, there won't be anyone to guard the sect. I see, Su-yi understood. Those people in Sword Star City were originally from Crimson Tiger sect. The Crimson Tiger sect's ability isn't weak. Their sect leader, Zhuang Changren, is at the 1st level of Origin Emperor stage. He isn't weak at all. Now, he has agreed to be an elder in Xianjian sect. The Crimson Tiger Gang's vice-gang leader, Wu Pingliang, is at the 7th level of the Origin Void stage, and he assumes the position of Vice City Governor in Sword Star City, said Elder Lu. Su-yi nodded again. Having an Origin Emperor realm and an Origin Void realm overseeing a city was also a sign of great importance. If one were to count, there were not many elites like this left in Xianjian faction. I came here this time to see how the Sword Star City is doing. I took a stroll on the street earlier and everything is still in order, Su-yi said with a smile. Haha. Don't worry, faction leader Su. We, Xianjian faction, will be managing the 3 cities for the time being. We want to reap some benefits as well. Naturally, we will not mess this up, Elder Lu said. Oh right, may I know what sect Master Ji has been busy with recently? Su-yi suddenly asked. In fact, he wasn't thinking about Ji Tianfu, but Ji Hanua. He didn't know what was going on either. Recently, he had been thinking about that lady. It was very strange. Hearing Su-yi's question, Elder Lu's expression immediately became serious. He looked around and saw that there were no outsiders inside or outside the hall. Then, he said to Su-yi seriously, I was just about to talk to faction leader Su about this. Previously, when Sect Master went to look for faction leader Su, other than wanting to bring the Bawang sect's share of the profits, he wanted to invite the Bawang sect to join forces with Xianjian sect and Liuhe sect to exterminate the Green Sanctuary sect. Green Sanctuary sect. Su-yi's expression turned serious. Speaking of which, he had some grudges with the Green Sanctuary sect. Coincidentally, there were only a few 3rd-rate forces in this area. The 7-star Sword School and Gimdeo sect had been exterminated. The Sky Spider sect, which was slightly further away from here, had also been wiped out by the Bawang sect. Now, only the Green Sanctuary sect was still a hindrance. Su-yi also knew that Xianjian sect and the Green Sanctuary sect had an unresolved grudge. Previously, the Green Sanctuary sect had ordered the Sea Dragon Gang to kidnap Ji Hanua in order to deal with Xianjian sect. However, he had ruined the plan. Recently, the Green Sanctuary sect has been harassing Xianjian sect. If it wasn't for the fact that he had to take care of the 6 cities, Sect Master would have brought people to fight with them long ago. Fortunately, with the help of Liuhe sect, the Green Sanctuary sect didn't cause too much trouble to us. Elder Lu said. Suddenly, he revealed a strange expression and said, "However, it's been very strange recently. The Green Sanctuary sect has inexplicably given up on harassing us. They have become very obedient. I don't know what happened." Sui frowned and murmured, "There must be something wrong when things are out of the ordinary. Could it be that they are up to something bad?" Sui couldn't figure it out no matter how hard he thought about it. However, he didn't think too much about it. He only said, "When I see Sect Master G, I will discuss with him about this. A small green sanctuary sect has been jumping around too much. They should be destroyed." As he spoke, there was a murderous aura. Elder Lu's expression turned cold. He was shocked by this young man's aura. If it was someone else who said this, he might find it hard to believe. Even if Sect Master G and Sect Master Lin of Lioha sect spoke at the same time and said that they wanted to destroy the Green Sanctuary sect, it was still a matter worth discussing. After all, the Green Sanctuary sect's strength was not weak. Under the situation where there was no absolute expert to suppress them, if Xianjian sect and Lioha sect worked together to destroy them, they would definitely have to peel off a layer of skin. As for Bawang sect, this matter was too easy. The Seven-Star Sword School and Gimdeo sect were examples of what had happened. Sui and Elder Lu chatted for a while. Not long after, he cupped his hands and said, "Elder Lu, if there's nothing else, I will take my leave first. I will have to trouble you to worry about everything in Sword Star City." "It's my duty." Elder Lu politely returned the greeting. Then, he personally stood up to send Sui off, all the way to the main gate of the City Lord's mansion. Sui and Elder Lu were stunned by the scene they saw when they stepped out of the door. "Sect Master Su, I have eyes but failed to recognize Mount Tai. I have offended you. Please punish me, Sect Master Su." 10 figures knelt on the ground outside the door in a row. The one in the middle was Wu Tianpeng. These people were all trembling with fear. Their bodies were like sifting chaff. Sui of Bawang sect. Everyone in Chaos region knew about him. He was an overbearing person who dared to chase and kill the most outstanding disciple of a first-rate force. He was a ruthless person who didn't show any fear in front of the sect master of a second-rate force. And they had offended such an overlord before. Wu Tianping thought for a long time. He felt that he couldn't change his mistake by running away. He might be able to redeem himself if he admitted his mistake. Otherwise, even if Sui didn't deal with them, the people from Xianjian sect would definitely make things difficult for them in the future. "What's going on?" Before Sui could say anything, Elder Lu's face changed. The aura of the Yuan Emperor realm suddenly filled the air as he asked in a cold tone. Wu Tianpeng was the son of the current deputy city lord, Wu Pingliang. His talent and strength were considered decent. However, he didn't expect this guy to offend Sui. This made him furious. However, Sui waved his hand and stopped Elder Lu, indicating for him to calm down. "I don't blame you. Get up." Sui looked at the shattered stone lions and pillars and said to the people who were kneeling on the ground. Wu Tianpeng and the rest didn't move for a long time. Hearing Sui's calm words, they couldn't help but feel more fearful. "Sect Master Su asked you to get up. Are you deaf?" Elder Lu immediately shouted coldly. Thank you, Sect Master Su." Wu Tianpeng and the rest trembled as they stood up shakily. Their legs were still shaking. "It's just a small matter. Since we're all on the same side, there's no need to be calculative," Sui said to Elder Lu with a smile. He then looked at Wu Tianpeng and the rest and said, "The rule of Chaos region is that the strong are respected. This principle is true and I agree with it. However, we control a city so that we can earn more benefit. These benefits come from the rogue cultivators and people from small forces who come and go in the city. In other words, the more people there are in the city, the more benefits we will get. Therefore, when we patrol in the future, we don't have to go overboard. That will only make people afraid to enter the city. In this way, we will be the ones who will lose the most. Not only Wu Tianping, but the disciples of Xianjian sect and Elder Lu also fell into deep thought after hearing Su Yi's words. The more they thought about it, the more they felt that it made sense. Elder Lu, I'll take my leave first. Su Yi didn't stay any longer. He cupped his hands and left with handsome Su. With the experience of his previous life, Su Yi naturally knew that the more people there were, the more money he could make. He liked the rules of Chaos Region. It was chaotic, full of killing and fighting. Everything depended on strength. It was suitable for the rise of the Bawang sect. However, at the end of the day, it was better to have some stable rules when running a city. After all, they were here to make money. Take Wu Tianping's actions as an example. If it were any other martial artist who had suffered such a huge loss, they probably wouldn't come to Sword Star City in the future. Su Yi couldn't be bothered to argue with Wu Tianping and the rest. After all, they were now part of Xianjian sect. This faction leader Su is really different from the rest. After seeing Su Yi leave, Elder Lu stood at the same spot for a long time. Finally, he muttered to himself. He had heard too many legends about Su Yi. However, this was the first time he had come across him. He felt that this young man was extraordinary and had his own unique rules. Chaos Region was a place where the fittest survived. Strength was everything. He used his absolute strength and talent to crush his peers. He was the hero among the heroes. In terms of management, Su Yi's theory was very novel. It was worth thinking about carefully. It seems like we have to change the rules slightly in the future. Running a city is not as simple as running a business and collecting taxes. After pondering for a while, Elder Lu turned around and returned to the governor's mansion. The group of disciples from Xianjian sect and Crimson Tiger faction dispersed as well. Chapter 1153. Su Yi left Sword Star City and walked into the endless forest. He did not plan to visit the remaining 2 cities that Xianjian faction was in charge of. After all, he had obtained all the benefits that he deserved. Boss, Xianjian faction is really loyal to their friends. Su Xiaoshui was once again placed in Su Yi's arms. He popped his head out and laughed. Why are you laughing? What are you planning this time? Su Yi rolled his eyes and said. Xianjian faction was indeed loyal. Su Yi had already noticed this after the incident outside the secret realm of Ominous Spirit. Even when they were faced with a strong enemy like Tiangang faction, Ji Tianfu did not hesitate to stand in front of him. However, Su Yi instinctively felt that there was more to handsome Su's words than met the eye. Coupled with the smirk on his face, Su Yi could tell that handsome Su was implying something. No matter how bad I am, I can't be as bad as you. Su Xiaoshui mumbled unhappily. What did you say? Su Yi glared at him. Nothing. I mean that. Su Xiaoshui immediately changed his tone and said, That? Boss, you got so many spiritual medicine this time. Can you share some with me? He raised his head and looked at Su Yi. He was almost drooling. You glutton. Are you thinking about my spiritual medicine again? Su Yi felt helpless. Su Xiaoshui was really a glutton. However, it was true that he could break through by eating. This was something that Su Yi could not compare with. Hee. Su Xiaoshui laughed. Take it and eat it. This is all I have. There will be no more after you finish it. Su Yi thought about it and finally took out a bunch of spiritual medicine from his infinite space bag and gave it to Su Xiaoshui. These spiritual medicine were all dried up, but their medicinal properties were still there. However, they could not be planted in the mysterious infinite space. Thank you, boss. Su Xiaoshui was elated. He hugged the spiritual medicine with his 2 wings and began to chew on it happily. Su Yi shrugged and smiled bitterly. One man and one bird continued on their journey. Su-yi planned to go to the Ryoha sect to take a look at the situation. The two cities of the Gimdeo sect were now in their hand. He should be able to gain something from this trip. It took Su-yi and Su-shui more than a day to reach Jinyang City, which was one of the two cities mentioned by the emperor. Coincidentally, the young sect master of 6 Unity sect, Lin Donghao, was personally overseeing this place. There was also an elder who was at the second-level Origin Emperor realm as the city lord. The share that the Ryoha sect had given to the Bawang sect had all been in the hands of the primitive Emperor realm elder and also given to Su-yi. What a coincidence! It saves me a lot of trouble. After making a trip to Sword Star City and then to Golden Sun City, it just so happened that the shares given to him were in these two places. This was indeed a coincidence. Su-yi obtained more than 600,000 two-star origin stones this time, in addition to many other resources. The Gimdeo sect was originally much weaker than the 7-star sword school, so there was a gap in wealth. The wealth collected from the two cities was only about 60% of the Sword Star City and other cities, but Su-yi was already very satisfied. He didn't stay in Golden Sun City for long. After catching up with Lin Donghao for a while, he left. The matter of this trip had been settled. The debt of the Spirit Treasure Pavilion had been paid off. He also obtained more than 1,000,000 two-star origin stones and many spiritual medicine and other resources. It was a fruitful trip. Boss, let's have a meal to celebrate this big harvest. On the way back, Handsome Su said to Su-yi hopefully. You only know how to eat. Su-yi glared at him. This guy had already finished the spiritual medicine given to him before. At this time, he was thinking about eating meat again and even found an excuse to celebrate. For the sake of eating, this guy could be considered to have done everything. Although Su-yi scolded him, he still killed a barbaric beast that took the initiative to attack them along the way. After that, he made a barbecue. Handsome Su ate until his mouth was full of oil, and he was very satisfied. The return trip was very fast. Su-yi even found a bird-type barbaric beast in the Demon True realm and directly tamed it as a mount. He quickly flew back to the Bawang sect. After a few days, the scenery gradually became familiar. Let's go directly to the mine. I wonder if anything happened these days. Under Su-yi's instructions, he flew towards the mine and soon arrived. Just as Su-yi was about to enter the mine according to the Li Fire Mystic Sun Realm's array, there was a powerful fluctuation in the air behind him. Layers of invisible waves rolled over. Screech, a sharp screech was heard. Su-yi turned his head and saw a big bird flying over quickly from afar. Its wings were hundreds of feet wide, and its aura was extremely fierce. Under the aura of the big bird, the mount under Su-yi's feet immediately trembled in panic. If he didn't use the Origin Supreme technique, this mount would have fallen from the void in panic. A high-level barbaric beast in the Demon Void realm. Su-yi looked at it and knew the cultivation level of the big bird. However, this was not the most eye-catching part. What made his eyes twitch was that there were more than a dozen experts standing on the back of the giant bird. Every one of them had a profound aura, and it was obvious that they were experts at a glance. Boss, look, Luo Jing and Jin Zhu from the Celestial Spider sect are also here, Handsome Su said. He saw that among the crowd on the back of the big bird, there were 2 Origin Emperor experts from the Celestial Spider sect. 15 experts, and they all seemed to be Origin Emperors. What a show! With so many experts here, they must be here to cause trouble. Su-yi's face darkened. These people didn't seem to have good intentions. Luo Jing and Jin Zhu had threatened Su-yi earlier. They said that even if they couldn't get the mine, they wouldn't let it fall into the hands of the Bawang sect, even if it attracted the intervention of a second-rate force. Looking at the scene in front of them, they seemed to have attracted a powerful force. One look and I can tell that you're up to no good. However, if you want to put on airs in front of the Bawang sect, then you've definitely come to the wrong place. Handsome Su stood on Su Yi's shoulder. Suddenly, a mysterious energy fluctuation spread out from his body, accompanied by an overwhelming pressure. It carried the aura of a supreme beast and suddenly swept towards the big bird. Screech! The big bird let out a shrill cry, and its body tilted, falling straight down from the void. Now that Handsome Su's cultivation was already at the Demon Emperor realm, the big bird was only at the Demon Void realm. A little pressure could easily suppress it. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. However, the cultivation of the 7 or 8 people on the back of the big bird was very strong. All of them flew up immediately and didn't fall from the void. From afar, Su Yi could see that the expressions on the faces of the 7 or 8 people had become extremely ugly. They seemed to be very angry. "Brat, did you do that just now?" The 8 people were very strong. Soon, they landed 200 feet away from Su Yi and Handsome Su. One of the old men who looked like a wild lion said in a deep voice. He stared directly at Su Yi and Handsome Su. At the same time, the aura of a high-level origin emperor burst out. It was like a wave crashing towards Su Yi and Handsome Su, trying to intimidate them directly. However, Su Yi's primeval chaos supreme was able to easily resist this aura. As for Su Xiaoshui, he simply ignored this aura. Such a scene surprised the old man. He didn't expect that the man and the bird couldn't be suppressed by him. Something must have gone wrong. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. At this moment, several figures rushed out of the mine. The 4 beast emperors, Green Emperor, Yang Ming, Yin Ming, and Devouring Spirit Emperor, appeared together. "Master!" Seeing Su Yi, the beast emperors all bowed respectfully. Su Yi nodded in response. "Brat, didn't you hear what I asked you just now?" Seeing that Su Yi didn't answer his question immediately, the old man who looked like a wild lion just now glared at him and shouted in a deep voice. As soon as they arrived, they suffered a loss and even their mounts fell from the sky. Now, they were ignored by a young man. This made the old man furious. He released a strong wave of vitality energy again and wildly surged. He wanted to put the brat in his place again. "How dare you? This is my Bawang sect's territory. You have no right to behave atrociously." The Green Emperor shouted. In a flash, he stood in front of Su Yi. The aura of an 8th-level Demon Emperor surged out, forming a terrifying storm that collided with the old man's aura. A huge energy vortex appeared in the void, carrying a sharp whistling sound as it tore through the air. The Berserk Lion Elder shuddered and was forced to take 5 steps back. The Green Emperor, on the other hand, was still standing on the same spot and staring at him coldly. Such a scene made the expressions of the 8 experts change. They were shocked by the Green Emperor's strength. "Elder Jean, let's get down to business first." The wild lion old man was about to continue attacking, but at this moment, he was stopped by a black-clothed old man. He snorted and stopped. "Is this young man the sect leader of the Bawang sect? I think his name is Su something?" Seeing that the wild lion old man was no longer impulsive, the black-clothed old man tilted his head slightly and glanced at the sect leader of the Heavenly Spider sect, Luo Jing, from the corner of his eye. He asked softly. "Elder Zhou, his name is Su Yi. It's this kid." Luo Jing stood respectfully in front of the black-clothed old man and pointed at Su Yi. "Oh, I remember now. His name is Su Yi." The black-clothed old man called Elder Zhou nodded slightly. Then, he raised his head and looked at Su Yi from the corner of his eye. He had a condescending attitude. Luo Jing immediately took a step forward and looked at Su Yi. He snorted and said, "Kid, this is Elder Zhou of the Jade Tripod Alchemy sect, and this is Elder Jean. Hurry up and greet them." Su Yi curled the corner of his mouth and said disdainfully, "I knew it. Last time, the 2 of you ran away like dogs. Why do you still dare to come over now? So it's because you're relying on the Jade Tripod Alchemy sect." You're tuning in to the Phoenix Nights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.